Okay, we're ready to go. I'd like to call the meeting to order. If we could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Rogers?
Present.
Trustee Reinders?
Present.
Trustee Pasmino?
Present.
Trustee Consolino?
Present.
Trustee Fialco?
Present.
And Trustee Laha? Mayor Yukich?
Present. All right. Next, are there any amendments to the agenda?
Yes, Mayor, I would like to, under old business, I would like to table J1. This matter's already been rectified and it's been discussed, and there's really no need to discuss it any further.
I'll second.
Is everyone agreeing on that?
I agree.
Okay.
Yes.
Christine, could you please call the roll on it?
Trustee Rogers?
Oh, aye. I thought you said Reinders, sorry.
Trustee Pasmino?
Aye.
Trustee Fialco?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Next would be the minutes. Do I have a motion to read the minutes of October 31st, 2021, special village board meeting?
So move.
I need a second.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Fialco?
I'm going to abstain.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
No.
Trustee Pasmino?
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 2, minutes of July 28th, 2022, special village board meeting.
So move.
Need a second?
Second.
Discussion?
I did have some changes. I don't know if you want to call them edits or amendments. For the minutes on July 28th, I'd like to amend the minutes to reflect the details of my report, which I stated, and the previous board resolution. It spoke about the resolution that the board and the previous board and myself passed. I would like it to be notated, as it was on that day, that it was the Illinois House Bill HB 3653, which made trespassing a legal, an unarrestable offense, and that the current governor ignored it upon our request. So if we can have that in the record?
Absolutely. Would you mind emailing me that just for the exact verbiage? And then I'll just put it in, so...
Be more than happy.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we have to do a motion as approved, as amended.
So who's going to move?
Trustee Pasmino, you made the motion, and Trustee Reinders second.
Okay. And there's no more discussion, so roll call, please.
Trustee Fialco?
I'm going to abstain.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Abstain?
Trustee Consolino?
No.
And Trustee Pasmino?
Aye.
Okay.
There was 2 ayes, 1 no, 2 abstains. So
That the minutes are not adopted as amended at this point in time.
Thank you.
And with respect to the prior minutes, the ones from October 31, were there only 3 aye votes on those? Yes. I just want to make sure from the clerk.
There was 3.
3? So those minutes were not adopted either because it requires a vote of 4. So we can move on.
Okay. We haven't done August 2nd. Then the next one would be August 2nd, special village board meeting. Need a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion on that one?
Yes. The minutes are completely missing what Attorney Carrie Horvath said and also what Attorney Eric Hansen had said, and discussion.
So, may I speak? So Gina Marcotte had reached out to Attorney Horvath and asked if these, from what I understand, if this was the way to do these minutes, and that's how it was stated. So I went with the recommendation of the attorney. I'm happy to change whatever you want added. But if there is any changes in the future, if you guys can just send them to me, and I'll have them done before the meeting, so we don't have to, go, bring it back.
There will
and
be.
so forth.
Is there a way that we could just take the video and whatever is in the video, just go off of what's that?
We can, but sometimes when you guys move in and you move out, it's very hard to hear exact verbiage. And I was actually told before that if there is a statement or a report that they don't want me to plagiarize, that they want their exact what they send me, so.
Is there a way that in the event that there's a doubt in something that we say that's on video, that somebody from the clerk's
Are
department?
you referencing your report? Or are you referencing,
Let me finish.
sorry, go ahead.
It's okay. I'm just referencing in general.
Well, typing every word verbatim, I don't necessarily have to do, it's the clerk's minutes, but if you want something for your report, just like Jennifer did at for the last meeting, absolutely send it to me and I'll put it right in there verbatim for what you say.
We'll work on it with you.
Awesome, thank you.
So,
Attorney Horvath, did you have any recommendations for this then? Did you want me to add anything else?
For the,
August 2nd?
that was the meeting that was not conducted for lack of quorum, right?
Correct.
No, I have no problems with the minutes.
okay. Madam Clerk, could you do the roll call?
Trustee Fialko?
I'm going to abstain on this.
Trustee Reinders?
Abstain.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
No.
Trustee Pazmino?
It's only 3.
It's 2 A's, so it
Well,
doesn't,
2 and 1.
yeah.
So that one's going to be another one that's not adopted.
Just a quick question. So once this happens, is this going to be revisited and fixed somehow and brought back? Because I want transparency. I want the people to see what's on these minutes.
Ed, the minutes should be approved at some point in time because they are an official record of the meeting that was conducted, or the 3 meetings that were conducted. So if there are changes that need to be made to the minutes, they should be communicated to the village clerk. She can then prepare them and then present them. We can't just let them sit forever not being approved because
Okay. I agree. And
we risk violating the Open Meetings Act.
just so everybody knows, absolutely everything is available to you via YouTube. The Village of Homer Glen, just pull the minutes, pull the meetings. It's not just what you see in black and white, but what you hear with your own ears. So I just want everybody to know that. Thank you.
I also want to state for the record that we have had discussion where we would like to review certain meeting minutes and amend them in the future. So these can be brought back up with those.
Okay. Madam Clerk, could you call the roll?
Um, I already did, Mayor.
You did.
We already said, okay. No, I'm going to go with the public. All right, so next is public comments. Joe, do we have any? Tracy Thatcher?
Yeah. This is my first meeting since I'm usually at bingo with my mom. She's in Vegas today, so here I am using this opportunity. Okay, so I'm just here to talk about how disappointed I am in the Balish slate here at the village. Ruben and Rose, two local restaurateurs. I know how hard it is to build a business. So what I'm not understanding is why you both are being lapdogs. The only good idea that I'm completely behind is making the Pumpkin Farms pay an amusement tax, since they both pay literally nothing to Homer Glen for the season, and we foot the bill. And of course, that was ended as soon as Ruben went in the back room to talk to Scott Bankston, a man whose family has terrorized Homer Glen for years, including me, the former mayor, the sheriff's deputies, and I've heard way many more stories that I'm not going to repeat out of respect. At least Canoes respects and gives back to the community, but still, a resident should never have to pay more taxes than businesses that make millions. Anyways, you both need to find your roots and be leaders. You guys built something great. Find that, because we need you guys. We need you to stop voting with the slate, and you both find your or you both find your way out the door. Enough with the freeloaders. And that leads me to Jen. Or is it Norma? Or is it Andrew? Whoever you are tonight, you are a disgrace. You bully, you harass, you intimidate by recording people at the township meetings. You're just not a good person. And you know what the sad part is? That you're being used for those very traits. I honestly feel bad for you, Angela Shaky and Bonomo. You guys are the sideshows, the flying monkeys. While Balish, Gowron, Porfilio, Bozen, and Ruben are behind the curtain, you guys are the sleight of hand. While others like Connolly, Revere, and Fialco are clueless and just along for the ride, just the rubber stampers. And to the new prospects, Jay Rohde and Christina Clausen, no amount of money will ever buy those seats. Enjoy those top bids while they last. That's about all you'll see for your donations and videos mocking concerned residents. We always talk about not allowing bullies to win, yet here we are. They completely run our town. Residents of Homer Glen, we need you more now than ever to step up. If you love your home, our home, and plan on being here for a while like me, we cannot let this Balish slate grow, especially our cherished schools. We need you. There's the mayor seat going up. There's 3 trustees of next year's, please.
You have 30 seconds.
Thank you.
Brian Kozer?
Hi, my name is Brian Chahor. As many of you on this board know, I'm a fellow conservative. Also, as many of you know, I supported most of you for a very long time, until recently, and considered some of you friends. The way this board conducts itself has been nothing short of a clown show, and we've been the laughing stock of local politics. The funny thing is, when I started speaking up about how this board is acting and speaking up against selling our open space, I was blocked or defriended on social media by many of you. I honestly expected that. I wanted to bring to light to the people of Homer Glen how we got here and how many of you were used. In the words of former White Sox broadcaster Hawk Harrelson, sit back, relax, strap it down. This is going to be one heck of a ride. On May 11, 2020, Trustee Pazmino invited me to Ruby Agave for a private meeting on how he wanted me to help out with the campaign for the current trustees of both the village here and the township, along with Mr. Balish. At the time, I was more than happy to help, since Trustee Pazmino was a friend and a fellow conservative. During that meeting, Trustee Pazmino asked me to create a fake Facebook accounts to help spread the word about his Balish-backed people, including Steve Balish and Abash's opponents. Trustee Pazmino went as far as to offer me money to help. I, of course, turned it down because I did not want his money. I have approximately 18 pages of messages on Facebook from Trustee Pasmino and 2 pages from former Trustee Holtz talking to me about meeting and setting up fake profiles. I'll be more than glad to share this with anyone. I can get you a physical or electronic copy. These messages went on for weeks, and after mulling it over for a few weeks, I let it go because I felt it was too slimy. You see, folks, the Ballots Group spends hours upon hours trying to brainwash you, and Trustee Pasmino is the master of puppets. They want to control the news and information that you hear. Ask yourself, who is on Trustee Pasmino's payroll for all these fake Facebook accounts? Who's controlling the homepage? You see, they don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed and well-educated people. That's against their interests. That doesn't help them. They want obedient voters that will listen to their propaganda and just be dumb enough to believe it. They count on you to be willingly ignorant and to hate your neighbor if they are the opposite political view. It's time to drain the swamp of the Ballots gang. Thank you. And I'd also like to say too, to everybody out here, thank you for the boo. That's a pledge of honor to me. But I'd also like to thank the mayor. You're doing a great job. It's not fair how these guys team up on you. So I'm proud you're standing up for yourself. I think Nicole and Trustee Rogers is also doing a good job, and keep it up.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Next would be Susie O'Connor.
So I'm really big on quotes. So I came across this today. For a community to be a whole and healthy, it must be based on people's love and concern for each other. Now I understand love's a big word. We can't love our neighbors, but obviously in quotations, it's about being kind to one another. I'm gonna tell you a story that happened about 7 weeks ago at Heritage Park, our beautiful park. My youngest son is 8 years old, and he has autism. It was his birthday over Labor Day weekend. We came here, he got a scooter from his grandfather, his only living grandparent. And he played back and forth. It's a nice smooth surface besides the driveway and our sidewalks. And some teenage kids were watching him from about 20 feet away, 2 girls and 2 boys, and they started to laugh at him. If no one knows about autism, there's a lot of things that come along with it. It's hand flapping, clapping, high-pitched screaming, which he doesn't do. It's more or less enthusiastic, uncontrollable laughter. I turned around and asked the children if they had something they wanted to ask about him, because I want them to understand. I still don't understand, and he's my son. They just ignored me and just kept on looking over, and we went on to him playing. This was with my husband, my older son, and my 2 sisters. A 5 minutes later, you can hear the laughing again, and they're observing us and looking over in our direction. So finally I turned around and I said, if you want to understand what's happening right now, I said, he is stimming. Stimming is a form of how he controls himself and how he regulates ourselves. We as people can probably take a deep breath, we go for a walk, you have a smoke, whatever. He doesn't know that. And they said, we're not laughing at him. I said, but I can hear your laughter and you're staring over here. I said, if you want to understand, please ask me a question. I will tell you, come over and meet him and see him up close. They're like, well, we're sorry, okay? And they were very sarcastic. And I was hurt. And as they walked away, I kind of snapped a picture of them. It was fuzzy, it wasn't anything identifying. But I went home and I shared it on some local pages, a Lockport and the 2 Homer Glen pages. Lockport page wasn't too nice about it, but the Homer Glen pages were very kind, and I'm sorry if this goes a little bit longer. And most parents reached out and said, Susie, I really like what you said. I sat down in front of my children and I shared your story. And it meant something to me because after I posted these on the Facebook page with hundreds of comments, I broke down as a mother and I cried. I knew the day would come as a special needs mother that someone was going to make fun of my child. I didn't think it was going to happen on his 8th birthday. But I wanted to take my disappointment in life and turn it into a triumph. And I reached out to the local schools, and one of the trustees, Nicole, is helping me, and I want to do something more. I want my child to be more than just this child who controls, laughs uncontrollably, or is seen as a joke. So I'm moving forward with that because I don't want to hate. I don't hate those children that laughed at him. They just don't know any better. Some of us don't know any better about politics or what's happening in our community, but we can ask each other and we can learn. And comes with that is respect and just a little bit of understanding. So I wanted to leave you as, not let your heartaches, don't let your heartaches define you. Let them become your healing, and that's what I'm doing with the situation with my son. And I hope this village, this beautiful village we live in, can do that as well. Thank you.
Next would be Mike Bonomo.
Good evening, Mayor, trustees, administrators, and the residents of Homer Glen. As many of you are aware, I'm a Homer Township trustee elected in April of 2020. At our last meeting, which was held in this very room, there was quite a bit of tension. As a matter of fact, there was so much tension that I left that night and considered stepping down from the board. I am generally reasonable and love to be around people. Yet I had a moment where I thought, wow, if I'm going to be the target of everyone's anger, why am I sitting on this township board? Then I thought to myself, wait a minute, I have a father who's going to be 81 years old, has neuropathy, had 6 stents put in his heart. Within 7 to 10 days, he was back at work in a company that we worked together, that he's owned for 50 years. And the question comes is why? He says he wants to practice what he preaches, and that he expects everyone to work hard like him and overcome some diversity. Well, I guess my father gave me that lifting up moment. I'm a township trustee because I want to help make my town a better place to live, a better place for children to grow, finally a better place for our seniors to live out their retirement days. I made a point when elected to start working with the seniors, and over the past 18 months, now a group of 24 Homer Glen residents, elected and non-elected, have formed an alliance to work to give the seniors an opportunity to have fun, eat a little good food, and create friendships. From the senior bingo, now up to 93 in the last session, to senior teas, senior expo, senior yoga, and several senior workshops, I think we are proven that if you have a good team, good things will happen. The most important part of what we do, we never have and never will politicize any events where the seniors feel pressure to make a decision. With that being said, rather than step down, I will stay and fight for the amazing people I have come to know in Homer Township. Elections do have consequences. And I realize that sometimes we break what we thought were solid friendships and have strong disagreements with neighbors. It gets to a point where you lost respect, and I'm not going to stand here and proclaim my innocence. There have been times when I feel I could have responded in a more cordial way, but unfortunately it is difficult under certain circumstances. George, you and I share a lake house together. We're neighbors. We see each other in the summer and have never had a problem being cordial and respectful to each other. Here's my issue. I have never come to your village meeting and tried to cause a problem. Actually, I can't remember a time when anyone on the township board ever created conflict. I have certainly never treated your board with disrespect in meetings or publicly. Yet you came to our township meeting and led the charge against our board. You had every right to speak during public comment. As the mayor of Homer Glen, we welcome your comments. I, however, took offense at the fact that you stood next to the door the entire time while handing a microphone to almost every speaker and attempted, in my opinion, to hijack our meeting. Hijack is a strong word, but I didn't find it necessary for you to personally hand the microphone to every speaker. After all, you are not on the township board. It was like you were leading the charge against a board that was elected by a good portion of the people that voted for us as well. What was your reason for your actions? Politicizing someone, perhaps? We'll find out. George, we are supposed to be a community, the township and village working together to serve the people. I believe that the newly elected board members on both sides, we have proven that if we work together, success follows. Let's start acting like we care about the community and not about attacking each other. Let us try and be the people that the community deserves. Just so happens you have 2 more years of us, and we're not going anywhere. Thank you and God bless.
Next would be Mike Carlson.
In case you're wondering, I stood behind Mike because I respect what he said, and I stand behind every word he said. And I'm not here tonight to bash the village board, but the first lady came up here and gave me some pull to do that on. And I'll tell you what, I've heard this board say no, sustained, and aye. They are not a Ballage crew. They are a dream crew. This has been the best village board that this town has ever had because they brought the township board and themselves together. They're not on anybody's Ballage slate, this and that. That is all incorrect. People need to open up your eyes and look what we have. We have something here good. All you do is go on social media and blast at it and blast at it. Are you too much of a chicken to come up to the microphone and say something? If you are, come in 5 minutes early. Speak to a trustee. Or come in 10 minutes late. Speak to a trustee. Don't sit there and bash them on Facebook and make our town look bad. That's the only person that's making the town look bad are people that are slamming everybody, and they don't have any of the evidence, they don't have any of the prize. They just hear what they hear and they say what they want. It's enough. Let's stop doing this. Seriously, I'm talking to everybody in the crowd too. It's not right to bash people on Facebook, on social media. If you have a problem with somebody up here, come up here and speak like I speak, Mike speaks, this guy here speaks. Everybody has their opinion. Say it here, not on Facebook. Maybe your questions will get answered easily. And this is not a Ballage slate. Everybody disagrees with each other. What's that?
I have a news article that says they are the Ballage.
No, they're not.
Okay.
I can guarantee you they're not.
And Ballage quoted.
Okay, well, Steve might be here tonight. Why don't you ask him when he comes? See your chicken shit.
Let's bring it back. Okay, next one would be Matt Holstry?
Close enough. All right. Hello, my name is Matt Hosty. I'm a resident. I've been a resident here for about 4 years. I'm here for Agenda I-8 and the LPR cameras. I've been a police officer 15 years in Cook County. You know, Cook County's going to shit. It's all coming out this way. You know, you guys got to get those cameras up and running. The community safeguard, I don't know what you guys can do. Put up some signs, lock it or lose it like Mokina does. You know, crime's coming. There's nothing you can do to prevent it. It's everywhere now. I know you guys are having issues with FLAC. That's what most towns use. We go on FLAC and we look for the cars. The only issue I have is your placement of them on the map. You guys have them all on Will Cook Road. When they come to the residential areas, they're all in stolen vehicles. You know, yeah, you're gonna catch a stolen vehicle, you're not gonna solve the crime that way. The best, I believe the best execution of the cameras would be your main streets, 159th and Bell, 143rd and Bell, maybe coming off the expressway somewhere over there. You know, have something set up to where the dispatch is notified when a stolen car passes through town so that the Will County sheriffs can go look, you know, hopefully catch the criminals in the act. That's the only way you're going to actually prevent the crime that's going on in this town. I know FLAC is charging you guys, I think it was just under $25,000. I think that's probably going to be about the cheapest thing you guys are going to find. You know, if you guys get your own, the upkeep, maintenance, and all that, it's going to be very expensive. Plus, you know, you're going to have people like me who, you've got the detectives who all use the FLAC, and they're old guys who don't like, it's like an old dog learning new tricks. They don't want to do it, you know. And I know the one meeting you guys said that no crimes have been solved using the FLAC cameras. There's 2 that are up, 151st. I don't know what you're going to see over there. We got one on Haas Road. I know it was used only one time. I did contact the postal inspector when my mail was stolen, so I do know that they did use it the one time. I don't know what came of it. I really don't care. It was junk mail. But I do believe you guys need a bigger budget for the cameras. There needs to be more of them, and that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Matt. Next would be John Walters.
Hello, everybody. I want to readdress something. A couple meetings ago, we were talking about the alleged forged signature on the liquor license. And the two lawyers were going back and forth, and they were discussing what, probable and likely, and, all these legal terms on how likely it was that Mayor Yukich signed the liquor license or not. I'm going to quote from page 2 of the report, which was key for me. It said about the signature on the liquor license, it was free from any of the above noted characteristics indicative of a simulation, meaning nobody tried to forge George's signature. So I'm thinking, what could possibly be where this would not be a forged signature? And so I only came up with 2 explanations for this. Either George signed it, or there's another guy around here named George Yukich who has access to the liquor license, and he signed it. Now, which one of those is probable? I don't think there's a second George Yukich. Now, I know this report costs the village, I think it's $3,500, and I am asking when we may see George reimburse the village for the $3,500 spent on this report. Thank you.
Okay, that's going to be addressed. Next would be Judy Van Conklin. Van Conklin.
Hi. I've been a resident with my family, my husband and kids, for over 20 years, and I grew up here. I moved here in 1973 with my parents. So I don't know what happened to Homer Glen. Somewhere along the way, it just got really bad. And Trustee Consolino has a lot to do with it, unfortunately. I'm not sure why you feel the need to videotape at a township meeting and then post everyone's pictures like, gotcha. What's that all about? Why don't you focus on your job? Can we just focus on what you were elected to do instead of posting pictures of me, Sherry, the mayor on Facebook? Ellen? It's weird. It's not intimidating. People think it's odd. And it's going to catch up with you one of these days. You don't think it is, but it is. That's all I have to say.
Next would be Dan Roberts.
I'm just talking for a case coming up, not one of the public comments. Sorry.
That's okay. We'll address it then. Then the last one, Jay Rhodey.
Board, Mayor Yukich, residents. Just want to do a follow-up on a question that I asked you, George, about 3 meetings ago in regards to a comment you made regarding the village now maintaining the 5 parks that it took over from the township and what those cost numbers were. Is it passed through the same cost? Did it cost the taxpayers more money for the village to maintain those said 5 parks? Is it less money due to consolidation? The only reason why I'm bringing this before to you because you brought it up. I didn't want to go around. I didn't want to go emailing trustees. I didn't want to email the clerk. I didn't want to email the village manager because you brought the subject up, and I'm just looking for clarity on it and wondering if you have those numbers today. If not, if you could direct me on who can provide me with those numbers to show, is it a pass-through cost, or did the consolidation actually cost more money or save money to the taxpayers? Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, that's it for public comment. Next would be reports and communications from the mayor and other officers. I start out. Mike, when you came up to talk about the meeting that the township had, it was something that was pretty simple. When I came in there, this was a house that was full. There had to be at least 100 to 150 people here, counting you guys. And it was filled all the way up to the back of the wall. And if you remember, there were no mics, and nobody could hear anything. So then the residents that were here started getting upset about it because they couldn't hear anything. We couldn't hear who you were or what you were talking about. And then you got up and you did an executive session where that wasn't even on the agenda. Not you. Steve Balich did. And that's not on you. That's on him. That wasn't on the agenda, but he decided that he was going to change it. So when all you got up and walked out, the residents asked me, we can't hear anything. So I went and got my IT guy and asked him to get 2 microphones, one for your table, one for the residents. Every one of those residents has a right to say whatever they want, good or bad. But to just sit there and do nothing and let them walk out with no idea what anybody said, I can't do that. My job is to make sure that my residents, the residents of this village, get what they need. So there was no malice towards you whatsoever. You just happen to be with a group that makes a lot of it. So there was nothing that I had against you, still don't. But you got to take it to the next step. Because if you try hiding something from somebody, it makes it worse and worse and worse. So all it is just doing what you're supposed to do in the first place. They should have had the microphones set up. They should have had everything set up. And they should have done it by what the agenda said it was. And it wasn't. It did not happen. So I have no issue with you whatsoever. Mr. Carlson, when you talk about some things, you need to find out some things before you start talking about them. I've never said you couldn't come and talk to me. When we were at the festival, we talked for a little bit. So I don't know why you just decide that you just got to, you know, tonight you really didn't beat a dead horse. John does that. So if you got a question, ask me. I've never turned you down once, nor will I. As for John, you know better than that. And that was just dirty as hell.
Right out of the report, sir.
Yeah. I'm the one that called the police on it in the first place. Yes, I was, and I've got this thing from the...
Not true.
And you don't talk when I'm talking. I've got the sheet from the police department. It's the first one. I went to the village manager and said, you've got 1 day. After that, we're going to get the police in here. Police already come and gave me a list, or they gave me a sheet on it. As for the signature, you have to understand how many things that I do sign. The other day we signed, I think, 275 checks. I signed one check for $1,600,000 and some thousand. It's my job, so you sign it. And there's a lot of stuff that's put before you. And the day that that happened, Trustee Fialco, when I came in and looked at it, and I said, I don't sign that way. It's initials. The initials that are on it are G, I don't even know what the hell they wrote on it. But I don't sign anything with initials. I sign my name out. And my signature was supposed to be at the bottom, not at the top. So I don't know who put it up at the top. But the whole thing of it is when I saw it, I kind of freaked out a little bit. And I told him, this isn't my signature. And the first thing that came up to my mind was Cary, Illinois, where the clerk out there stole $37 million. No one knew about it. As soon as I saw something that I didn't understand and I wasn't comfortable with, I went to the police. And I went to Carmen and talked to him about it. So, and I've got some people, you know, you hate throwing people under the bus, but sometimes you have to. I was told by some of the staff that they saw what happened, but they didn't want to come forward. They don't want to come forward because they're afraid of retaliation. We've got people here that tried helping. In fact, Sean McGee, he got fired right after we tried calling the police to get someone in here. So, you know, that gets through the building pretty quick and people understand what's happening or not happening, but you're getting the gist of it. So, I don't know why everyone thinks this is such a bad thing. So what? You got a signature there that nobody knows where it came from. Who cares? If you listen to the report that she put out last week, it says, no harm, no foul. I do the best I possibly can for this village, and I'm not going anywhere. I still got 6 months left, and that's what's going to happen. Whether or not you like me, because I don't care. I don't go out with you. I don't do anything like that. Just, you can think whatever you want. I know what's in my heart and in my head. What does bother me is all the crap that comes out about me that has nothing to do with anything, but then my kids read it. I don't think you'd like that if that happened to you. If there was money missing afterwards, if there was something else, I'll bet since I got involved in the politics, I'll bet I've signed at least 7,000 pieces of paper. Because that's all I do when I come in here, is sign paper, I check them to make sure everything's good. I catch 90% of it, then Gina catches the rest. So, I said it in the last meeting, why the hell do you keep beating a dead horse? You got nothing else to say or nothing else to worry about? I think what we should worry about is there's nothing good here. All it is fights. Let's do this, let's do that, do this, do this. Put this on Facebook, put that on Facebook. I'll bet if I asked everyone in here, how many of you have been, let's say, beat up on Facebook by Jennifer? I think and as for her, you got to understand something. I've gone to her and talked to her and just tried to see how she was. But unfortunately, I never got a response. And unfortunately, I think I have never met anyone as unhappy as she is.
And here we go with bullying again. Public bullying.
What? You want to go?
You're the piece of shit mayor in this whole fucking town. You start shit with people you don't even know.
Have a nice night. So, anyhow, back to mine. This is just something that I feel sorry for the next people to get into this office, because if this is what it's going to be, I'm moving. Because why the hell would you want to stay here and listen to all this crap? So then I got asked the other day about doing prayers. The way it's going to be on this one, I don't want it. It doesn't belong. Church and state should not be together. I called up different priests. I asked them what they thought, and they said that their people would like to worship where they worship, not with just coming here to worship. So I don't know what Kerry looked up. I know he said he was going to look into it too, but I'm a firm believer of church and state. That's how it's been for a long time. That's what it should be. So we don't need that right now. So I'm done. So if you want to keep beating me up, you can keep doing it. I can sit it. My skin has gotten so thick, it's like leather. So knock your socks off. And Mike, I swear to you, that was not designed for you. You just happened to be part of it at the time. So the next one will go to the trustees. We'll go to Trustee Fialco first. See, he's on Zoom.
Yes, sir, thank you. You know what, I really didn't have much to say today. I was going to just say I had no report. And as far as the fest, I do have no report, but it saddens me to be a trustee to see the drastic grasps that you are taking instead of working with this crew. I haven't said it before, but you know what? When I got sworn in, you were sitting at your desk. You weren't there to shake my hand or anybody else's when we got sworn in. Then you also approached me and said, you are going to have a rough 2 years of it. And you know what? I really didn't know what you meant by that at the time, but I do understand it now. And you know what? You befuddle me as to your approach sometimes, although you know that I have always been willing to work with you. And listening to what you just said and talking about the fest and you called the police, sir, you can rearrange the deck chairs on your mind's Titanic, but the results are all going to be the same. And I'm sorry that I had to say that, because that is not the way I want to operate as a trustee. But I have not seen in you a parallel to work with people on this board. Your goal has been to try to make everybody look bad. You say you don't go on Facebook, but yet you have all your people working on Facebook behind you and taking care of things without your name on it, obviously. And that's just the way I see it. I mean, I could be wrong, a little bit wrong about that exactly as far as how many people, but you know what you've been doing. And anyway, as far as any report other than that, sir, I have nothing to report. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Renders?
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to be reporting for the Parks Committee, and on a little bit of a lighter note, I will tell you the things that we are accomplishing on our committee. As most of you already know, the playground has been opened, and we got such a great response from everybody. Nicole and I have been receiving accolades all weekend long of people that are enjoying the playground. So the kids are really loving it, and it was especially heartwarming to watch Trustee Laha's daughter, Ashlyn, play on the playground. She was so ecstatic. She did not want to leave. She kept saying, stay, I want to stay, I want to stay. It broke my heart that we actually had to wheel her away from the playground because she loved it so much. So, with that, so we're real happy about that. One of the things we talked about at our Parks meeting, this last meeting, was the splash pad for the park. We are moving full steam ahead, trying to put the amenities in the park that are going to support the community. We brought in a bunch of renderings, and the committee decided on a rendering, and we will be moving forward with that. We have been working with Carmen. Carmen and I have been working on some grants, and we're researching other grants as well. But the exciting thing is that we've set up, I've been working with Bobby Medina, and this week we have set up an account to actually where people can donate to the splash pad. So it'll be live probably this Friday, so everybody will be able to take a look at it. And there will be different denominations that you could donate, but there also be, you could donate it however much you like. We're not asking for people. We know these are hard times for everybody, but if you just want to give and you just want to have your name on something for the splash pad, we appreciate that. So we're hoping that if we can get everything, the RFP out and everything, that we should see something start either late spring or early summer. So that's very exciting for us. A couple of reminders. The Veterans Memorial dedication is November 5th. We will have a short dedication ceremony, and what the ceremony is going to be about is we are going to be dedicating a piece of land in the park for the Veterans Memorial. Anybody is welcome to come and join us, and then we will have some light refreshments here at the community room in the Village Hall. Another site that's been set up for the Veterans Memorial is that we will be able to be accepting donations for the Veterans Memorial as well. So if you have a family member or anybody that you'd like to donate in their name, please feel free to do so. We're also researching a bricks program so that the pavers on the memorial will be able to get them autographed or engraved and get them put in there for your veterans or a loved one, whoever you'd like to put in remembrance of that. Also, our Christmas program is December 4th. This year, there will be a, excuse me, a Kris Kringle market in the park as well. That will start at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and that will run through till 8 o'clock. And it will basically have different booths, and there'll be vendors, and we'll be working with Rustic Vintage Fair on that, and we'll be organizing that and getting all that information out to the community as well. One more thing that I'd like to say is November 8th is Election Day. And I'm sure voting is on everybody's mind. I just don't want anybody to forget. So that's my report.
Okay. Next, Trustee Pazmino.
Thank you, Mayor. I have no report because most of my committees we caught in the last meeting. Thank you, Trustee Rangers, for everything you've done with the Veterans Memorial and the parks between you and Nicole. The special needs parks, I think that was fantastic. And those are kind of the things that, you deserve a hug over. So thank you so much for that.
Can I say one more thing?
Oh, sure, Rosie.
One more thing I forgot is the veterans boxes. If anybody would like to donate to the veterans boxes, we will be accepting donations. Bobby Medina will be accepting them at the village. We are going to stuff the boxes on November 11th, and the trustees will be delivering them on November 12th. So if anybody has anything they'd like to donate, if you have a question about a donation, you could call Bobby, and she'll give you a list of all the things that we already have. Thank you.
Thank you. Next will be Trustee Rogers.
Sir, I had to finish.
Oh, I thought I went to you when you said you didn't have anything to say.
That's okay.
Go ahead.
That's okay, sir. Thank you. I have nothing to report, but I kind of want to give a rebuttal to the one of the public comments that was done today, Brian Cesar. You pretty much made an accusation on me. Yes, you and I did meet once before, 2 years ago for an election. You are in the marketing industry, and we were looking for campaign people to help us get the word out. And I remember you saying that, the fact that you came over to me to begin with, it was not new. You knew exactly why you were coming over because I didn't make it a secret. And I know you have messages. Go right ahead, share those. I don't have a problem with those. Of course, you realize, there's messages amongst everybody. And I think now on iPhone, you can delete messages, but I have an Android. That's the good thing. There's certain messages you can't delete. So, we can both share together. That's not a problem. But one of the things that I wanted to make clear, number one, Brian, you and I have been friends. We're fellow conservatives. We've marched together before, and we've done all kinds of stuff. Not sure what the turn is here, but, I was looking forward to having you come up and address on positive, proactive things. It looks like you're taking a campaign on. Very good. It is what it is. I understand that 100%. Hold on, but hold on, let me finish. Guys, you know what? At the end of the day, we're not here to fight. We all know this is going to come out. It's starting to bubble, its ugly head, whatever, but I want to be clear. Number one, as far as making a fake profile and so forth, I remember the conversation. You didn't want to get involved. I wanted to put the word out. Number one, the people that we were running against put the first ever municipal property tax on this town, and I wanted that word to get out. And I remember you saying, I don't want to, remember, you're the one that was going to help us out in the campaign, so we had to put certain words out, because guess what? I don't want any more taxes, and I don't want any more increases, so we had to put that word out. You weren't comfortable with that, so I said, well, then come up with a surname. And surnames, they're not illegal and not bad, right? Tracy Bratcher, you accused Christina Nitschke of trying to do it and spread lies. I don't spread lies, I tell the truth. They're unfortunate truths, and you know what? I'd love anybody to challenge me on the truth.
Homepage?
I'm sorry?
Did you buy the homepage?
No, I did not.
Yes, you did.
No, I did not.
Joliet Billy.
You know what? And, okay, I don't want this to go back. Sir, I'm not finished. Don't stop me. If they're saying stuff, that's not my fault.
Saying it's time to get back to what we're here for.
Okay, sir, we are here to give the truth. You pretty much gave your truths. Let me give
And you
real
personally
ones.
attacked me, so why?
Trustee Consolino, let me finish, please. I'm almost finished. We're going to get to you. I know you have a lot to say. So, tonight, we're talking about business. Mayor, you brought up business. And a lot of the people that are in this room were summoned by Trustee Rogers, I see a lot of your posts to bring people in, and I get it. You know what? Let me finish. We all understand, okay? There's people saying, hey, you're part of this slate, you're part of that slate. I can guarantee everybody one thing. And it doesn't matter what side that you're on. And I've always said it from the beginning. We are all here to do what we feel is right. Some people think one way, other people think another way. But instead of beating the hell out of each other, why don't we come and talk about it? And I get it. There's both sides, and there's things that we can do. Just like in any household that you're in, right? I'm sure everybody here has family members that they don't get along with. However, they live in the same household. Our household is Homer Glen. Could you imagine your brothers and your sisters or whatever not talking to each other, beating the hell out of each other, putting negative things on Facebook about each other, destroying each other, and destroying your house, your home? That's what we're doing. And I'm talking to both sides. I'm not just talking to one. So at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm not saying, you know what, to be quite honest with you, if I get in office again or if I don't, to be honest, I don't care. I did my best. I put my heart into this place. And anybody that has ever spoken to me, Tracy, we've spoken, Judy, we've spoken, I've sat with you, and I treated you with the utmost respect. Why? Because, ma'am, I love it. And we had a beautiful conversation. Why? Because if the shoe was on the other foot, I would like for me to come to my government, the people that take care of my village, and to address me in a matter of respect. We don't have to agree all the time, but let's respect each other. And that's a direction that I want to go in. Guys, this is not about politics anymore. And Brian, I know that you came in here and you put on social media, oh, everybody, I can't wait till you come to this meeting. It's going to be good. Okay, what'd you say? You made a few accusations? Okay, great, no problem. Yes, I agree with you. We met. Yes, we were going to hire you 2 years ago to run our election. Yes, you know what? I don't remember the accusation, but maybe we said, go ahead, make another Facebook page or whatever, but tell the truth. Did I ever tell you to lie? Did I ever tell you to say something that wasn't true?
That's incorrect. You did not tell me to run a marketing campaign.
Well, you know what? That's the conversation. Okay, hold on. That's the conversation that we had that I recall. But at the end of the day, if you're going to make that accusation, you make it against everybody, not just the people that you're against, because there's other people that made that accusations against other people on this board, Christina, and nobody's up here talking about it. If we're going to talk about it, let it all out, not just what's convenient for you.
I was there for you, though.
Okay, no problem. And I agree with you. We did meet. Absolutely. Hey, you know what? And I'm saying, you know what? At the end of the day, it's all about us getting together, and this is not a game. This is not a competition. This is about our village, putting our differences aside and moving forward, and having our village move forward. Because guess what? You get us out of office, you're going to have other people that are like-minded with you. They're going to be fought by other people. And it's going to go back and forth and back and forth. Mayor, I respect you. I've always respected you. One of the things that I highly disagree with you as of today, you said that there were some people that were afraid, that they said there was something wrong with your signature. It's called the whistleblower law. If there's somebody that has something to say about something illegal that was done in this village, they go to the feds or they go to the state and their identity is concealed and the investigation moves forward. Why have we not approached that? Why hasn't the whistleblower gone to the state and kept their identity secret and move forward? So when you mention that they feel intimidated by us because they don't want to give their identity, that's kind of, I'm sorry, but I still stand firm. I back up our staff 100%. I do not believe any of our staff, any of our trustees would ever do anything illegal like sign your signature. Number one, it's not worth it. Hello, if you don't sign the liquor license, don't sign it. I don't give a damn, it's not my problem. Nobody's gonna put their freedom at risk to sign a liquor license. It does not make sense. So, Guys, that's it. I'm sorry. I just had to get that out there. At the end of the day, I will speak to anybody. I don't care how much our opinions differ. I am a conservative Republican. My mother's a hardcore Democrat. So guess what? We have conversations at Christmas time all the time. We disagree a lot, but guess what? We love each other, and we all represent the same family and the same household. And our household here is Homer Glen. So we move forward, and I welcome with open arms anybody to come talk to me about anything. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, Trustee Consolino.
To go first?
No, I didn't forget about you. I just want to get this out of the way.
I just wanted to take a minute to recognize an organization that was part of our community for 10 years, the Homer Foundation. It was established with a group of people after the tragic passing of Officer Michael Olivari. A lot of good things came from this foundation, and one of was a great community event called the Mike Hike. Last year was the last year for the Mike Hike, and after 10 years, the committee felt that it was time for them to move on. The president, or I believe, moved out of the village. Some of the other people had just grown up and moved on, so they retired that. They, if any of you have ever been to the Mike Hike, you've seen all of the amazing flags that run down the end of the race. There's probably 50 flags, 3x5 flags, really nice flags that are mounted into the ground and go through the entire end portion of the race into the finish line. And the Homer Glen Foundation was kind enough to donate those to the village and to the American Legion and a few other businesses. So we picked those up today in their storage shed because they are, you know, they have closed down. They're closing everything down, trying to get rid of, you know, the various miscellaneous bookkeeping items and things like that that they have. So I just wanted to thank them for that. The village and I will work together to get them over here. Christina's been nice enough to store those for me today because I had to borrow a truck to get them, so the village was already closed, so we need to kind of organize them, separate them out, get some to the American Legion, some to the village, and then wherever else they were to go. So I just wanted to thank them for that. And just, you know, with Veterans Day coming upon us, you know, I personally will miss the Mike Hike. I was very involved with it for several years, and it was a really nice community event, and it'll be missed, but I just want to thank the Homer Foundation for all that they did for the past 10 years. I really appreciate them, and I will miss them.
I agree.
That's all.
Okay, Trustee Consolino.
Just want to take the time and acknowledge, before I do my report, that George Yukich again electioneered publicly with our village and personally attacked me in the same usual misogynistic and harassing manner. And I did send an email to the entire board about this just a little over a week ago. For the record, your opinion and your lies do not matter to me, but they do matter to the residents. Now I'd like to give my report. Okay. With all things that make Homer Glen our rural and quaint community, I would like to warn everyone that it is deer mating season. Yes, deer mating season is normally from October through December, and during this time of year, the deer are much more active, and unfortunately, we see a lot more car accidents because of this. The following tips can be helpful when driving around our town. Deer are most active at dusk and at dawn. 6 to 9 p.m. are said to be the most active. However, they can cross the road at any time of day. Headlights help because their eyes are extremely reflective and can be easily seen, but using your high beams can help illuminate areas and foliage where deer can enter into the roadway. But please, you should only do this when vehicles are not on the opposite side of the road in the oncoming direction, and if you are on a desolate stretch of road. Be mindful of deer crossing signs. They are there for a reason. Wear a seatbelt. If a collision seems inevitable, remember that if you swerve, you could lose control of your vehicle or end up in the way of oncoming traffic. Deer usually travel in herds. Where there is one, there are usually more. Cell phones are a huge distraction. Using one while encountering a deer on the road can steal valuable seconds with your response time. Now, I have one more add-on with the safety tips, with Halloween approaching us rapidly this Monday. For those who will be enjoying trick-or-treating from 2 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. and not handing children a bag of candy, please keep in mind the following tips and share them with your children. Carry a flashlight and/or wear reflective tape or gear on your costume. Travel in groups of 3 or more. Do not enter an unfamiliar home. Walk, don't run. Stay on sidewalks. Obey traffic signals. And if no sidewalk is present, walk on the left side facing traffic as you can be seen by the vehicles. Don't cut across yards or driveways. Stay in familiar neighborhoods. Make sure costumes don't drag on the ground and that your shoes fit. Try to avoid wearing masks when walking from house to house if they affect sight. Approach only houses that are lit. Stay away from and don't approach animals that you do not know. And I cannot emphasize this enough, especially with all the horrifying stories that we are hearing on the news about fentanyl. Do not let your children eat any candy until it has been thoroughly inspected. I wish everyone a very fun and happy Halloween in Homer Glen, and I've also asked my village manager if he could put these tips for everyone on our website and our social media. Thank you.
Okay, village clerk.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of things regarding to the minutes that were not passed. I'm happy to address any of those concerns. If you guys just want to reach out to me, I know, Ruben, you said that we would talk about it. So I'm happy to fix whatever. Just a little update on my computer. My computer's been a little rough the last 6 months. Carmen, would you say about 6 months? It's been a little janky, and they did purchase me a new one, so it is in the process of getting updated. Matt is getting it all fixed for me. It's got some software updates and a bunch of things that have to happen. So if you give me about a week to get it all fixed up, then he can take the time to do the minutes. Jennifer, I know you said you wanted to go over some other minutes. I can't even print right now, so once my computer is up and running, I'm happy to help you guys with that. In regards to your reports, perfect example, Ruben, I know you kind of spoke a lot tonight about some things. If you want to give me a snippet of what you said tonight, that would be great, instead of me typing out, everything that you just said. That's what I'm referencing, is it's hard to, put every word that you say verbatim. And with that being said, I truly think this town needs some healing from all ends, every spectrum. This is actually rather embarrassing and upsetting. I know some residents came to speak tonight to say, Miss O'Connor, you had said some touching words here. I think everyone needs to learn from her and take her experience and think about that. We're hurting each other. I'm willing to put my sword down. I've put my sword down. I think we all should do the same and focus on what we're here to do. And we can fight behind the scenes. I just think here at the dais, we need to focus on the job. And that's all I have to say. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Next would be village attorneys.
Mayor, I have no report for you and the members of the board.
Okay. Carrie?
Thank you, Mayor. I have no report either.
Okay. Public safety officials? I guess not. Village manager.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have a report tonight. There's a few things I want to go over with the board, just a little briefing. That stuff came to my desk in the last couple of days. But I did want to mention, yes, trick-or-treating is fast approaching, so Monday from 2 to 7:30. If you don't want any trick-or-treaters at your door, we do have this wonderful sign. You can download the link, print this out, put it on your door. I know some people maybe go out of town, or they visit friends and family in the town and won't have trick-or-treaters, but this is a great way to let them know you're not going to be home. So I wanted to share that. I also did want to share with the board that we had some appropriated funds from Illinois for our Glenview Walk Park District. And we have about $200,000 that we're going to try to go and after. It seems like it was appropriated. We have to fill out some forms, but I think it was appropriate to let you guys know, because this is a good funding that we already spent on a park that's already up and running, and that was about $199,000. So we're looking to get some appropriations that we saw at the state, and we're pretty excited about that. So us as staff and the administrative department will work diligently to see if we can get this money. We'll see if we can earmark it for a good cause. All right, the other thing I'd like to talk about is we really have some large decisions to come up with. We're starting to hit some brick walls when it comes to wastewater treatment in our area. Development in our area is struggling. We're working with staff diligently to come up with some solutions. Illinois American Water says, we'll hook up whatever you want. You guys pay for the line, but we want it. And I don't know if the village is in that position to do that. So I need to bring it to the attention of the board that on the other end with Lockport, we're struggling with getting stuff permitted on our extension for Fitterman Creek. So I'm asking the board if you guys know any aldermans in Lockport and we can get some meetings together. I'd like to have a discussion and see if we can work some things out. I know Lockport is struggling with some degraded facilities, but Homer Glen is in a position where we have 3 options, and these 3 options are running fast and fierce, and it's at our back door now, and I think this board's gonna have to take some pretty extensive action to get this moving forward. I have to bring this to your attention because it is something that is very important to us as staff, because we're having struggles with development, because we have to basically lay out, Lockport's not gonna, as they say, and I'll read it out of an email, Lockport will not authorize any new connections or additional flow from any new growth in Homer Glen, signed by Ben Benson. So I think this is very appropriate that you guys understand that we're handicapped, and quite honestly, staff is struggling and frustrated and trying to figure out a way to move forward. So I just wanted to bring it to everybody's attention. Yes?
Have you met with them personally?
I have met with Ben Benson. I have not met with the city of Lockport. Ben and I had a conversation. He said we would try to meet by the end of the month. That's like a few days away.
Mayor, have you met with them at all? Have you had any conversations with Ben Benson or Mayor Straight regarding the sewerage?
Just what I heard through one of the residents here, that they weren't going to give anything up.
You said a few meetings ago that they were absolutely not going to do anything for us. You didn't say it was a resident, you said that Lockport said that.
The resident said it.
Well, good thing it's on video.
Good.
So in this report, and just talking to the board, you know, Homer Glen is a young village. We've been here for 21 years. Staff has worked diligently to come up with some solutions. We have a couple options. The question I really do ask is, you know, at what point do we want to create our own destiny and not be handicapped by the largest corporation for water and wastewater treatment, Illinois American, or another municipality? So, you know, when I bring this stuff to the board, it's only because I know these are going to be heavy decisions weighed on you. And I just want to give you guys the most advanced notice on what we're working on in the office, so you guys understand where we're coming from. As we get closer to our agreement with Lockport in 2030, it will expire with our IGA with them, but they're not honoring it now, and that's the struggle we're having as staff. So if we can start doing some outreach and getting some stuff moving, that'd be great.
So,
Appreciate it.
Carmen, what you're requesting is that we have a sit-down meeting with them, with council members and yourself, or
Correct.
just yourself and the attorney?
I would think council members. A great way to think about this is, I'm a village manager. I don't have authority to grant anything. So I think council members should get together, and you guys are acting members, and you can make those votes, and I think that's where we're at with that.
Carrie, if Ben Benson still isn't agreeing to meet with us, what is our, if Ben Benson or the city of Lockport does not agree to meet with us, what is our recourse?
Well, they won't honor their agreement, and the agreement does require Lockport to accept all wastewater from the village of Homer Glen.
Yes.
And it requires Homer Glen to send all of its wastewater to the village of Lockport. So the first step would probably be for the manager and possibly the village engineer to try and work through a solution with Lockport. And if that is not does not bring positive results, then there's always the legal
Okay, I just want to know what we're looking at.
taken, but first, talking generally is the first step that you want to take. If the village manager from Lockport has already informed our manager of their position, if it's official, then you as a board, as Carmen has indicated, have some decisions that you have to consider. If I understand it correctly, Mayor, you have had no conversations with Lockport concerning wastewater treatment?
I've had a lot of them.
When was your last
A long
one?
time ago.
Mayor,
Can
can
we
you
bring
please
this
speak
up
into
under
your microphone?
Can we bring this up under old business? Because I think I want to give this, I have a few questions myself, and I want to give it an official format.
I do as well.
I just want to make sure that we're all operating on the same page here.
No, I hear you, but I want the residents to kind of chime in on this, not chime in, but listen to what's going on.
Yes.
Full transparency, because this is a huge issue, and unfortunately, there have been meetings, not including this board, and we need to get to the bottom of it, because at the end of the day, this is sewer and water for our residents and future residents. We need to get to the bottom of it and make some decisions right away. So I'd like to pick a few brain cells here.
I didn't know if I understood the mayor correctly.
All right.
I thought he said he hadn't had any conversations.
Well, we'll get to the bottom of that in a second. Thank you, sir.
So with that also said, I apologize to go on, yeah, go ahead.
No, I just want to know if I answered trustee Castellanos.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Carmen, could I ask you one question, please?
Sure. Dan, go ahead.
In speaking with Lockport, the only thing that needs to be clear for the public to understand, it wasn't just an agreement or an IGA. We did put out money for that. Do you remember exactly the amount of money for that agreement to take place?
Yeah, it was 50.
With Lockport, what it cost the village?
Yeah, it cost us $50,000 for the IGA that we were in agreement with Lockport. Dan?
Okay, so it wasn't just an agreement on paper. We paid for it, so I just want that to be clear for everybody. Thank you.
Yes, correct. Okay. So I just want to make everybody aware of that, Jim, as we go forward. The other thing that I wanted to make everybody aware, our salt has been ordered. We spent about $99 a ton last year. We're looking at $78 a ton this year. We went with the state bid, so it seemed to be significant savings for us. We also do have about 2,000 tons of treated, so we went with just regular salt at the moment because we have pretty much plenty of treated for the season. So I just want the board to be aware that we are prepped and ready for our snow season. So, and that's all I have to report, Mayor.
Okay. Next will be the consent agenda. Consider for approval the accounts payable for the period of October 14th, 2022 through October 27th, 2022 in the amount of $1,667,643.48. 2, consider an approval the treasurer's report of cash and investments for the period ending August 31st, 2022.
So move.
Second.
Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers? Aye. Trustee Cancelino?
Aye.
Trustee Fielko?
I will abstain.
And Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, legislation action items. And I-1, consider for approval ordinance number 22-044, an ordinance granting a variance to permit a mix of stone and hardy board siding materials on the first floor of the dwelling in lieu of the exterior construction standards 75-67A, applicability and scope type in lieu of the exterior construction standards 75-67A. All right, so building or structure of the code of the Village of Homer Glen for certain real property located at the A2 Rural Residential District at 17955 South Parker Road, Homer Glen, Illinois. I need a motion.
So move.
Second.
Discussion.
Joe, because this doesn't go before Planning Commission, did you see any issues at all?
We're starting to see a lot of this hardy board siding, cement fiber siding being used on homes. It's a better product, more durable than vinyl siding, which I know
Much better product.
we had some concerns with in the past. These farm-style houses, we're starting to see this product used more and more, just the architectural preferences of people now, so I don't see any problem with this.
Thank you.
Plus, it looks like this doesn't hit a huge majority of it. There's a lot of masonry on there too. So this is nothing new. We have a lot of new homes coming in and putting this on there. It's a very good, high-quality product. So I don't have any issues with it.
And it is similar to homes in the area. It's not
Right.
affecting the values of homes that are presently in the area.
Now, I just had one question, and this is also for the residents to kind of get their head around. So the reason that items like this don't get put in front of the Planning Commission are why?
It's
not required by code.
Yeah,
Not required.
it's just in the code. It's never been in the code to go before a Planning Commission.
Okay, because there'll be other people with, what they think is a similar fix, and then they're going to be, well, why are you putting us in front of the Planning Commission and not them? So I just want to make sure that there's reasoning behind it and not just nitpicking.
Thanks, Ruben.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
Trustee Fielko?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
And Trustee Rogers?
Motion carries. Next, consider for approval ordinance number 22-046, a request for 1, a special use permit for landscaping, lawn maintenance operation, and 2, a variance to permit an accessory.
Wrong.
There's another one, number 2.
We're on I-2, I believe.
Similar request, Mayor. Same person.
It's scratched out there and it's right here. So where am I supposed to start at here? I was on it. Consider for approval an ordinance number 22-045, an ordinance granting a variance to permit metal siding materials on the upper portions of the accessory structure.
Mayor, could you turn on your mic, please?
In lieu of the exterior construction standard 7567A, applicability and scope, type of building or structure of the Code of the Village of Homer Glen for certain real property located at the A2 Residential District at 17955 South Parker Road, Homer Glen, Illinois.
So move.
Second.
I'll second.
Discussion.
So this pretty much falls into the same category as the first one, right? They want to do, it's not hardy board, but it's another brand.
It's a little bit different. This is an accessory structure that is going to be put on the property, same property as the home that we just talked about. It's similar to other accessory structures in that area with the metal building type as a outbuilding.
I noticed nothing from the Plan Commission on this one either.
It is not, no.
Okay, so we kind of, I like it, but I'd like to see your recommendation on something like this.
It's consistent with other structures in that area over there. As you can see from the photos, there are similar structures up along Parker down that way. It's an accessory structure. They're bigger lots.
They're going to be using this for a landscape company?
No,
that's
a different topic.
That's the next one, okay. Is this was it existing and they're just refacing it?
All new.
All brand new? So it's like a barn-dominium type thing?
No, they're not living in it, so it's
Okay.
an accessory structure.
And so I want to make sure because
We
these
haven't had a
look like barn-dominiums, yeah.
So accessory structure.
Yeah,
This
just
is
makes
for
sense,
for everybody to understand, because when I first started, I didn't know what that was.
It's not a habitable.
Like a really large
Storage.
shed.
To store your car, your boat, your lawn equipment.
Yep, all your toys.
Okay.
Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
And Trustee Fielko?
Aye. Motion carries. Number 3, consider for approval ordinance number 22-046, a request for 1, a special use permit for the landscaping lawn maintenance operation, and 2, a variance to permit an accessory structure to be located in the front yard where accessory structures are not permitted, obstruction, and 3, a variance to reduce to required side yard setback for accessory structure from 50 feet to 16 feet for certain real property located in the A1 Agricultural District of 15500 West 143rd Street, Homer Glen, Illinois.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
I'm sorry, discussion really quick, just for the record. Planning Commission approved this 5-0, yes.
Correct.
So that's what I'm basing my recommendation on.
Trustee Pazmino?
Yes.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Fielko? Trustee Fielko?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
And Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, consider for approval ordinance number 22-047, an ordinance amending section 10-5 of the Village of Homer Glen Code of Ordinances regarding the establishment of standing committees of the Village Board of Trustees to establish a behavioral health and addiction recovery committee.
So move.
Discussion?
Really quick on this, sir, and I had to make my notes on this. I think this committee is long overdue in our town. A lot of people do not like to talk about this being an issue in our beautiful town, but I think it is important to take the first step for this type of committee for our families, our friends, and our neighbors who need to support and overcome the ugliness of substance addiction. Unfortunately, too many people that I know have family, friends, or neighbors who have died from horrible opioid epidemics. And in the recent decade, it has come to our town at an alarming rate. Imagine if those loved ones who perished as a result of those horrible addictions had somewhere local to reach out to. Imagine if parents or family members had this resource that they could have spotted certain trends in their children or family or loved ones. It would have saved their lives. This committee, just like anything else, would be in its beginning, in its infancy. However, we will work very hard to get it running with the entire committee and help it get engaged and off the ground. We are looking forward to working with any local, private, county, government organizations to be able to tap into resources and very valuable information. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming this very much needed resource into our community with open arms. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Fielko?
Aye.
Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
And Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, everybody.
Trustee Pazmino, if I just may, some of the opioid settlement money that has been released, now the village is not participating. I checked the records in the village, for whatever reason, did not follow through to participate. But Will County is getting some of the distribution of the settlement funds and some of the opioid litigation that they settled for billions of dollars, not Will County, but nationwide. So as your committee begins to form, you may want to reach out to the Will County to determine if they are able to provide any type of grant or monetary assistance for you to start a program or programs. I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Thank you, Council, and you're being very nice because there was more details to that. You had brought this to my attention over a year ago.
Yes.
And we had submitted it to our back then village manager, who sat on it, and we lost the grant.
Yes.
Just want to make that clear. Thank you for bringing that to our attention because you gave us a huge heads up on that, and unfortunately it fell through. But whatever information that you can get to us for our future and our children and residents' future, we greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much.
I'd also like to say thank you to Joe Baber for having his friend come and speak on behalf of this topic at the other meeting. It definitely opened up our eyes to this, and sincerely, I know that had to be a hard thing for him to get up and speak in front of us, especially at that meeting, but we definitely appreciate it, want to do something about it. Thank you.
I just have one thing to add to this. As we were anticipating this awesome committee, you know, having a brother with some substance abuse in his life, we are actually reaching out to Will County for some grant money, looking at about $25,000. Hopefully we could start something really cool with this committee, so I'm pretty excited about that. I just want to let the board know.
Great.
I will commit, in order to get this organization up off the ground, my restaurant, Ruby Agave, will donate $2,000 to get this off the ground, however we need it. But I think it's very well warranted. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Carmen.
Okay. Madam Clerk, we're all set now, right? Okay. Consider for approval the proposed amendments to Mayor and Village Board Standard Operating Procedures, SOP 007, Village of Homer Glen Sales Tax Economic Development Incentive Policy.
So move.
I'll second.
Discussion?
Mayor, this goes back to that little tweak that we gave to SOP 7. So basically, this will be more for big box organizations and corporations, since, you know, they have to, I think it was a $10,000 limit or minimum that they have to do in sales. For our smaller businesses, we do have our grant program, which I think is a lot better for them since they don't have to hit certain limits. They just have to qualify and have certain prerequisites. So I think this is very
It would be
successful.
10 million, just you.
Did I say 10,000?
Yeah, 10 million.
10 million, that's a big one, sorry.
I'm just still disappointed that only one small business was given access.
Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 6, consider for approval the proposed revision to Mayor and Village Board Standard Operating Procedure, SOP number 009, Village of Homer Glen Policy on Guiding the Village Organization regarding the acceptance of special event, festival sponsorship, financial, and in-kind.
So move.
Second.
I will second it.
Oh, God. Give it to Dan.
You want me to give it to Dan?
Yeah.
Discussion?
I think this is, we kind of started something like this a couple years ago. Basically, correct me if I'm wrong, Village Manager Morella, this is kind of a menu, if I'm not mistaken, for certain, for actually anybody that wants to get involved in sponsorships for our events here locally in Homer Glen. Before, the way it was presented, every year, or you know, a few months before the year ends, for the next year, you're presented with a menu or a list of different activities, be it trunk or treat, or be it, I don't know, any different program that happens in the village. You have the opportunity to advertise or to contribute for this event. And besides that, you can do also not only donations financially, but you can do in-kind donations. So if you own a business, you want to donate product, you want to donate time. I don't want to get any further than that, Carmen. I don't know if you have any more details, but this is something a little more official. And I think it's an excellent program.
Yeah, this was good input by staff. Matt Libs over there in the back, he's waving his hand.
Thanks, Matt. This is good stuff.
With Matt, and you know, Sue had a little bit of input on this, and then some of our residents had input on it. Some of our good sponsors that are out there. So I feel this was a great revision to move forward. I mean, everything can be tweaked, but this is a once-a-year thing. We can change this every year if we want to. So I think it's a good start, and I appreciate it.
And I think basically there were a lot of residents that do donate to different things, and they wanted to make sure that they were able to keep donating to that certain thing that they did every single year. So they didn't want somebody to come in and try to donate them. So some of the projects that are going on in the village are near and dear to some of the residents, and they just felt that they would really like to make sure that they could keep doing that event.
That's a pretty good problem to have where people out-donate each other.
Yes.
But hopefully soon, I'm not sure what programs this already engulfs, but the Environment Committee would like to add to that the program for if you want to dedicate a tree or a bench or a brick or, you know, whatever it is, we're working on something to present to the board. I think that would be an excellent addition to this program.
Okay, any other discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 7, consider for approval ordinance number 22-048, an ordinance annexing certain territory to the village of Homer, Glen, Illinois, Homer Township, owner of the property commonly referred to as the Trantina Farm.
So move.
Second.
Discussion?
I just wanted to make this clear because I've been reading social media, and again, we want to be fully 100% transparent and clear. The village of Homer Glen is not purchasing Trantina Farm. As nice as it is to have there, this is purely an annexation agreement. Now, the benefits of us annexing this property, we all have to remember, because a lot of people on this board seem to forget, okay? Upon the expiration of our boundary agreement with Lockport, which is in 2 years, odds are Lockport will try to, and they might be able to, annex all of the land west of Trantina Farm. Odds are Lockport will also approve more warehouses, given that it's exactly what is across the street. All we're doing is protecting our borders.
I think also, Carmen, it's important to kind of maybe summarize the conversation that you and I had, because this agreement already exists. It's already a fully executed document. This isn't something new. This is, can you explain the conversation that we had, because there was some confusion?
Yeah, so we went into an annexation agreement previous with the board before predecessor to me. That agreement was approved by this board and everything was at state.
And the date of that, do you have the date?
It was January 21st, 2022.
Okay.
With that, we had noticed a few irregularities, and then we went in and talked to council, and the plot of annexation had to be done so you guys knew what property we were bringing in. And this is kind of just like a formality to clean up all that stuff. So this actually brings it in with an ordinance, the plot of annexation, the right PIN numbers, and all that to move forward with the Trantina Farm. There is one little caveat that's going to happen after this happens. When we bring in property similar to this, it's designated as E1, but in the annexation agreement, it's asked that the townships has asked that it goes into Ag 1. So we will be coming back to the board just for zoning, just to clean up the remnants of this process, but that's all. Does that help, Beth?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other?
I'm sorry, just to clarify. Unless somebody else had something.
Carmen?
Yes, Dan.
Dan has it.
Can we just please, in addition to what Trustee Pazmino said, can you also make it clear as far as the maintenance of that property, and that the township will continue the maintenance of that property also?
Yes, this property will also stay within the township's jurisdiction of maintaining, mowing, the barn upkeep, anything that pertains to the maintenance. That's all still part of township duties. So, just so everybody's clear.
And we did talk about the carry costs relative to that, and it was pretty minimal, even if we did take it over.
Yeah, it's very minimal. But that's not the case here.
Okay.
So just like any property of anybody who wants to annex into Homer Glen, didn't we pass an ordinance that say that we would waive the annexation fee? Yes. Zero. So that doesn't mean because we annex your property, we're going to mow your lawn and do everything on your property. It just says that now you are the cherished resident and landowner in the village of Homer Glen. And I think that's enough.
Yeah.
Okay, Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
And Trustee Reinders?
Motion carries. Number 8, consider a motion to appoint the Community Safeguard Subcommittee of the Public Safety Committee, whose members will be Trustee Consolino as chairperson, Trustee Reinders, Trustee Fialko, Village Manager Morella, and Gia Casson, to address prevention of crime in Homer Glen.
So move.
Second.
Discussion?
Well, we already discussed why we wanted to do this a few meetings ago. The quicker that we can get this into play, I think the more beneficial it'll be. I've heard a lot of feedback from everybody that wants to be on the board. Everybody has a lot of awesome ideas. We've had residents that have approached me with ideas as well. And if we pass this tonight, I would really like to motion up a date, like within the next few weeks, if possible, to start getting this in gear, if that's okay with everyone. So that's all I have to say.
Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
And Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
Motion carries. We're
Could I add one thing on there, sir? I'm sorry. I also want to say that we're going to be, these will be public meetings, and we're going to be putting up on the website, right, Carmen, a posting for volunteers. Thank you.
okay. Going into old business, we're not discussing number 1.
Oh, wait.
We're discussing number 2. Discussion and possible action to discontinue the current usage and contract for the 10 license plate reader cameras, solar power, wireless network, installation, poles, and cloud hosting in the amount of $29,000 and the annual subscription of $25,000 starting in 2023.
So, if I may, Mayor, the board had requested that Flock come and I know the board had some concerns and stuff, so Hector is here from Flock that's going to speak on behalf of Flock. I know us as a board had some concerns, and he's here to speak. So I'm going to give the mic over to him.
Thank you and good evening. As Carmen mentioned, my name is Hector Soliman Valdez. I am a community engagement manager with Flock Safety. Thank you again for having us. I know that there was a previous discussion requesting our attendance. I'd like to review a couple of things with the board. I know that we have had a partnership for about 9 months at this point, so I wanted to just take the time to refresh the board on Flock Safety, our values, our product, our ethics, and then how we are solving crime regionally and nationally, and then answer any questions that you may have. That being said, a little bit about Flock. We are a Georgia-based company. We were founded when our CEO was a victim of a crime in his neighborhood. ALPR, automatic license plate reading cameras, have been around for almost 40 years at this point. What we have done is institute a software as a service type model. The reason for this is that when his neighborhood had a rash of break-ins, he spoke to law enforcement because it was going unsolved. They let him know, you all have great ring footage, other security cameras, but what we really need to commence this investigation is a license plate. So set out to build a license plate reading camera that was affordable for HOAs, private businesses, which is where we got our start. The cameras themselves, though, are the same quality and higher in the sense that they have machine learning as previous ALPR. So law enforcement was also interested in our cameras. At this point, we are in over 1,500 communities providing assistance solving crime. I wanted to start off by just pointing out the neighbors of Homer Glen that are partnering with Flock. So as you can see on the board, many of these jurisdictions directly border you right now. On the board is Bolingbrook, New Lenox, Mokena, Oak Forest, Joliet, Burr Ridge, Romeoville, and Frankfurt. Apologize if I mispronounce any of those. That will give you, is a giveaway that I am not an Illinois resident. But that being said, we are also widely adopted in Illinois. This is just a quick sampling of the cities and jurisdictions that we are in this state. And as I mentioned, we're in over 1,500 communities. If you include the HOAs and businesses, that number goes up to over 2,000. Now, I want to just level set and and make sure that both the community and the trustees have a refresher on how the technology actually works, right? Up on the board is the footage that your sheriff's department is receiving, both for hot list alerts, which I'll go into in a second, or investigative purposes. As you can see, it is the back of a vehicle. It is a license plate. It does not include people facial recognition and cannot be used for traffic enforcement, right? So really important to point that out. That is the footage that your police department is seeing. Vehicle fingerprinting technology is where the filters that they're able to use in case there's a crime reported, or there's some kind of footage and commence their investigations. The Falcon camera is what you see there. Our cameras, as I said, as I may have mentioned earlier, are infrastructure free, so cellular service and solar powered. It's also really important to talk about what the technology is not, right? So it's not tied to PII. PII means personal identifiable information. This is, as you saw, an image of a vehicle and a license plate. There's no DMV records that are held by Flock. We are not providing law enforcement any DMV records. What that means is, if there's an alert or if they are investigating a crime and looking at footage, that's when the investigation starts using other police resources. So again, there's no John Smith or anyone associated with any of the images that they receive. It's also important to note Flock, something that's unique about Flock is that our standard retention is 30 days. So why 30 days? And why is it deleted automatically at that point? What we have seen is many communities throughout the country, they have requirements for longer retention, but what we have seen is that that is a good amount of time for local law enforcement to commence an investigation. Let's say one of your neighbors is out of town for a couple of weeks. Then, let's say 2 weeks, reports a crime on the third week. Your sheriff's department needs enough time to then go in the system and investigate. But by deleting the data at 30 days, you don't have that long-term, collection of license plates and images. So breaking down how the technology works, there's 3 ways that it works. It's proactive in the sense that it provides real-time alerts. So those are through Illinois Leads or NCIC. NCIC and Illinois Leads are basically lists that are that law enforcement use to be identified of stolen vehicles, stolen plates, and felony vehicles, for example. A very interesting and important fact to note is that over 70% of crimes are committed with a vehicle, right? So upon receiving one of these alerts, that allows your sheriff's department to know, hey, this is where a stolen vehicle is, let's follow up. This is objectively a crime, instead of perhaps, looking for specific vehicles that they may think are associated with a crime. This is providing them that objective evidence, right? The second portion is that investigative part, right? Hopefully no one drives a red Toyota, because I always use this as an example, but let's say there's a red Toyota on a ring footage right after a crime has occurred. That is what's reported by neighbors. They will be able to go in using the filters to find all of the vehicles that match that description. At that point, like I said, they will commence their investigation using other police resources to then start getting some leads. The other factor is the deterrent factor. As you saw earlier in the presentation, most of the communities around Homer Glen already have Flock. What we've seen is that many times the folks committing crimes will know, hey, where are their license plate reading cameras? Where is Flock specifically? And so the deterrent factor is something that definitely comes into play. Now, protecting privacy. As I mentioned earlier, we were founded to serve HOAs. We were founded to serve neighborhoods. And so protecting in neighborhoods privacy and a community's privacy is at the core of all we do. That being said, we've taken several actions that really help us stand apart from legacy providers. One of the first ones is that all of the footage is owned by the city/sheriff's department in this case and will never be sold or shared by Flock. So what that means is that only your department is able to use the data, investigate it, share with other law enforcement officers within the system or agencies, right? A lot of legacy providers used to share data with tow trucks, collaborate with them, et cetera. That is not what these cameras do. They are, all of the data is stored and used only by your agency. As I mentioned before, what this also does is that it takes out the human bias out of crime solving, right? So it is alerting your sheriff's department, who may have only a couple of officers on at any time, hey, this is where there is a wanted vehicle, so that they are focusing on areas where there is an objective crime, right? A stolen vehicle, that is something that is objectively illegal. As far as storage is concerned, our data is stored in AWS Government Cloud, AES 256 encryption. Layman's terms, that's the highest level of encryption available to the private sector. This is actually the same used by CIA, FBI, et cetera. Search reason is required for every time that your department goes in. This is also something that is in their policy. Now, what does that mean? Every time that a crime is reported, they will have to have a case number or a reference numbers per their policy and per Flock's, the way that the software works, right? So a crime is reported, incident number goes in, that associates it with a legitimate law enforcement purpose, right? That audit trail is not editable. It also lives on forever, right? So really important to note that. And then again, as I mentioned earlier, it's not used for traffic enforcement. So these are not red light cameras. These are not, these cannot be used for speeding, et cetera. This also ties back into the fact that there's no PII, right? Cannot do that now, cannot do that in the future, because we do not have any of that type of data within our system. A unique feature of Flock that is available to your city is the transparency portal if your sheriff's department decides to turn that on. What the transparency portal allows is we will host a page, and if you all received this as part of your packet, you may have clicked. Morgan Hill and Vallejo both have the transparency portal up. Encourage also anybody in the community that may be listening to Google Flock Safety Transparency Portal Vallejo. This allows your sheriff's department to show how many searches they're performing, how many hot lists they're receiving, who they're sharing with, right? So allows the community to have some transparency, or insight, I should say, into the work that is being done. Awesome. Protecting communities. I wanted to go over a couple of the ways that we're solving crime locally, and then go out nationally, and then turn it to you all for questions. Burr Ridge, which is fairly close by, they have seen, unlike most cities, after they instituted Flock in 2021, they've actually seen a reduction in the amount of their vehicles stolen, right? So there's a quote there from the chief that states, "The offenders will steal a car somewhere, it gets reported as stolen. If this is on a license plate reader in town, when it happens, we can get to the area quick enough, hopefully to thwart the continued thefts," right? So getting out there, solving that crime, getting that vehicle, getting that property back to whomever it was stolen from. This is a case study out of Joliet, sorry, not sure. But that being said, this is actually a shooting case that was solved, and it was solved on this. There was the ability to receive some clues or commence the investigation immediately, right? So within hours to be able to start finding clues in that type of crime is crucial. These are Bloomington, Illinois installed their cameras earlier this year. This is actually just from their first 60 days. What I want to note here is all of the different types of crimes that are solved using this type of technology, right? So many times folks will associate LPR cameras with stolen vehicles. That is something that these cameras help with a lot. But as you see here, those crimes that do make the news, because of their level of violence, those are also something that we are really good at helping our law enforcement partners be able to receive clues to. So here you'll see that they were able to solve a domestic abduction, armed robbery, business burglaries, stolen vehicles, of course, aggravated DUI, and the list goes on, really. So again, trying to make sure that you all are aware of just the wide range of use here. This is a crime that made national headlines out of California. This was a smash and grab, or attempted smash and grab, into a jewelry store. What made the news is that they had armed security, and so the burglars, the people attempted to burglarize the location, they left. But what the local police department believed is that they would be returning and escalate the level of violence now that they knew that there was armed security there. And so what the police department did, which is a feature of us, is that they created a custom hot list on that vehicle. So when they returned, the police department was able to stop them from coming back in because they received an alert on that vehicle. I'll end with this story. Again, as I mentioned at the beginning, we are a Georgia-based company. This is out of Chamblee, Georgia. We're in 2020. We already had a very strong network. Stranger-on-stranger abduction, which is extremely rare. This mother was out walking her child when two strangers abducted her child. All she had was a vehicle description, which the police immediately started searching the cameras for. That led them, again, this is investigative work, right? So this is not a panacea in the sense that there's still good investigative work to be done. They then, using that description, got a plate, were able to put an alert on that plate and find the suspects in Alabama, arrest them, and return that baby to their mother, all within 6 hours. So really important type of technology in these horrible cases that do happen every once in a while. That being said, I know that, as I mentioned at the beginning, our partnership started in February. To date, we've installed 2 of the cameras. We have some cameras pending with the village for approval. Once we have permission to do that, we will do so. From there, there's a couple that are in the Illinois DOT right away. So that is where we stand currently. Happy to answer any questions about Flock, about the product, whatever you may have.
I had a quick question, and this is, of course, for informational purposes only. I've talked to 1 million people about this. A lot of people want it, a lot of people don't. My first question is, well, law enforcement, they tend to like it. I've had chiefs and other police officers send me emails that are for it, but I've had people of the public that are against it. So a lot of the main questions that they have, so for example, you said you're from out of town, you're not from Illinois?
I'm not from Illinois. I don't know if California is unpopular here, but that is where I'm coming from. So, well, hopefully we're in.
So for example, Illinois, they're about, hopefully it doesn't go through, but a law goes into effect that changes everything as far as law enforcement. Anywhere from high-speed pursuits, you got to call for backup before you can even look at anybody. There's just a lot there. I don't want to spend all night going over it. My question is, the effectiveness of the flat camera after January 1st. So that was one of the questions. And then 2, this basically zeroes in on the license plate. A lot of these people are using stolen cars and fake license plates. They drive down the street, grab the old license plate off, throw it away. So the question is, all of the money that's being spent, all of the investment, people are afraid of false security is one, and people are also afraid of their privacy being invaded. So you have these 2 schools of thought. Has the flat camera company come out with some sort of a white paper or anything of the sort? I know we're just Illinois, right? But there's a lot of these law enforcement laws that are going to change. Will that change the effectiveness of the flat cameras?
Awesome. Well, thank you for those questions. So I'll start from the back. The strength of Flock is that it's not just the license plate, right? So let's say you have a stolen plate, or you just switched your plate down the street, it's not even reported stolen. The important thing there is that the law enforcement officers can search for that vehicle based on the description, right? So some of the filters that they'll have are colors, make, roof rack, etc. So that is what will allow them to, start getting some leads. And again, it's investigative work, right? So as you saw there, the network of Flock is extremely robust in Illinois. So at that point, and I don't want to speak for if anybody's here from the Sheriff's Department on their procedures, they may collaborate with the jurisdictions nearby, put out an alert, share a custom hot list, and then collaborate that way. So that goes to the effectiveness, either whether you take the plate off, that is something that we see people do nationwide. That's why that vehicle fingerprint is especially important. As far as legislation, things are proposed all the time. We will obviously work to ensure that our product is able to be used to solve crimes and continue to do so. I think that the great thing about this investment is that it is investigative and it also provides real-time alerts. So there's plenty of ways to use it without opining on any potential regulations that may come up, right? Those are proposed frequently, and sometimes they go on, sometimes they don't. So that's what I would say to that.
I'm the trustee that was very much in favor of this in the beginning because it came before my committee. It also came before my committee before I was sworn in. My concerns, this was presented to us in a workshop on 1/26/22, and we voted for the contract then for 10 Flock cameras. The mayor signed the contract on 2/7/2022, and the first 2 cameras were installed very quickly, within probably a 6-week time period. Now we're here exactly 10 months later. What happened to the other 8 cameras?
Yeah, I think there were a couple of permitting issues that have since been resolved. As you saw in your packet, there's a timeline. This is an utmost priority to us. We have installed cameras throughout the region. And then also to note, obviously we want to have the cameras up and running to help your Sheriff's Department solve crime as soon as possible. And we're also we have not charged for that time because that's partially on us. So there has been no cost associated to the village yet, but definitely understand that is a concern, and that is why our
how
plan is to
do we get the
aggressively-
permits to get the other 2 in so quickly?
So those did not need permits, is my understanding. Those 2, they were able to install them right away in the town. The ones that are not being able to get installed are county right away. We now have a process for that. And then there are maybe 2 cameras that are on Illinois DOT right away that require additional permitting. So most of your cameras can go up, as you see in the timeline, fairly quickly.
When my village manager, he's been here since April, has been reaching out to your company, it's pretty much non-responsive.
Yeah,
Why
so
is that?
there was my team, the community engagement team, started around that time. There honestly were drop balls there. Not sure how that happened here, and I apologize about that. But moving forward, as you see here, there's publicly a commitment to ensure that these cameras go up as soon as there's permission from the village trustees to move forward with at least those on the county right away.
We also have concern about the cost and subscription. So on our contract that we signed on February 7th, installation subscription for the first year is $29,000. It will be $25,000 for the subscription starting in 2023. However, the price, and it listed on the contract, the price was supposed to increase in March 2022. And when the village manager has inquired, what was that going to increase? Nobody's giving him a response.
In 2023 or?
No, 2022.
So my understanding from your contract would have reflected the normal terms of $2,500 per camera, in addition to in the first year, the installation fee. That will not change.
So what is the total that we're looking at with an increase?
So the cost per camera, and forgive me if I'm misquoting, it will remain the same as what is on your contract. until they're all installed, right? And so at that
I would
point,
prefer to see that in writing.
we can definitely do that.
I understand that New Lenox, who is very close to us suburb-wise, they voted in June. How many cameras do they have on hand?
I can get you that answer. I don't know off the top of my head.
And then what if we chose just to use the software in your system?
If you chose to use the software, your sheriff's department would be able to investigate crimes outside of your village, but there wouldn't be any proactive alerts, and they wouldn't be able to research any crimes that...
So if we got our own cameras, it wouldn't work like that?
If you got your own cameras, you'd be getting the hot list alerts of any vehicles that are coming into your jurisdiction, right? So vehicle comes in to Homer Glen, they are aware within 20 seconds there's a stolen vehicle in town, right? If you don't have any cameras and the sheriff's department does have access to our system, they can investigate crimes, right? They can have some leads and maybe the vehicle happens to be in another jurisdiction.
But it is doable if we chose to get our own cameras, that we could utilize your software and your system.
So if you were to get cameras that weren't ours, they would not be reading, they would not be using the software, the machine learning.
So we couldn't subscribe to you if we had our own cameras, correct?
Correct. So we have a separate product that uses IP cameras. That is something completely different that hasn't been for discussion with the village. You'd have to install those. That's a whole separate.
Is that information that you could give to our village manager?
Definitely.
Okay. Does anybody else have any other questions? Dan, do you have anything you want to ask?
Yes, what I would like to see if you're going to do a follow-up here with some other information is to give us the statistics of actually crimes committed and crimes resolved with flock cameras. If you could include that in any additional information you provide for us, that would be great. Thank you.
Would that be specifically here in Homer Glen, or?
It hasn't worked in Homer Glen, so
No, surrounding communities would suffice. Whoever's got it in surrounding communities, like New Lenox, as Trustee Castellino said, if you can actually give us hard numbers statistically as to the crime solved and the cost, that would be great.
Certainly.
I think that's a great idea, Dan, because when Dan Murtaugh from your company came to us in January, he actually had statistics, but they were from 2019, and I think they were from Georgia.
Yeah, so we can definitely get you additional solved stories from Illinois. Our cameras are being used every single day here to solve crimes, so I can definitely do that.
Thank you.
Well, what I'm actually looking for is not through the rest of the country or the state. I'm looking for as close as you can get to us community-wise. So however we can, don't try to go too far. I just would like you to go as close as you possibly can to our community and give us those hard numbers as to crime solved. And the percent, actually the amount of crime compared to the amount of crime that flock cameras actually solves. And if you can, including how many times flock camera may or may not get fooled or incorrectly reads as an LPR.
Great. What I will do is that I will find jurisdictions that directly abut you that have flock.
May I ask a question?
Go ahead.
And this may be for the board, but did we ever, this may be a stupid question, but did we ever consider reaching out to the Will County Sheriff's Office, maybe do like a match program, since I noticed on all the slides that they were saying the police departments are the ones that has the contract, and we don't have our own police department, we work through the county. Maybe we can do something where there's like a match, since they're the ones that use it to solve their crimes. Just a thought. I don't know.
That wasn't the problem that we were having. That's the list that I gave at the last meeting, and same questions that I just addressed to him now. Those are real issues with this. So that's.
Okay, I didn't know if cost was an issue, so I just thought.
If we choose to stay with this company, yes, that's something that we could consider.
Clerk Shrikey, just a quick question, because actually sparked some interest. When you say match with the sheriffs, do you mean like a comparison in data amongst all the jurisdictions that they cover?
Well, because when Jennifer brought up a good point, New Lenox had just, but was it New Lenox Police Department that ordered it, or was it the Village of New Lenox? And if it is, you know, if maybe since it's helping Will County solve crimes as well, maybe they can match a camera. We buy one, they get one. Just to, do you see what I'm saying? I don't know. Just to throw a thought out there, since they're the ones solving the crimes. You know what I mean? And other police departments are buying their own. I don't know, just to relieve some of the pressure from us. That was just a thought. It just popped in my head. I don't know.
Good point.
Very good. All right, this is just discussion. So we need to know if we...
I actually had something, Mayor, unless you had something to say, I wanted to throw one more thing in the mix.
No, not at all. Go ahead.
So at the end of the day, this is about our residents, right? And I'm in the restaurant business, and talk about having your finger on the pulse, you hear it all, right? Now, literally from everything that I've heard, it's split right down the middle, okay? And I know that, you know, some people don't like doing this, and at the end of the day, once we get all of our information, has anybody considered maybe going to referendum on this and letting the public choose, letting our residents choose if this is what they want? And then that way, of course, we're going to have workshops. I'd like to have workshops. I'd like to inform our people, let them know what this entails, giving them all the information from the Will County Sheriff's Office, other surrounding jurisdictions, putting it all together and officially presenting it in front of our stakeholders, our residents. And then at the end, having them choose the direction that we should go in. My suggestion. Something we should think about.
Do you think that maybe we should bring this up in the meeting that we're going to try and have in a few weeks for the new committee for community safety?
That should be topic.
Make a decision, because this would fall completely under that.
Because like Ruben, the same thing. I hear the same thing. My take on it is more people are against it. They feel that it's definitely going to be an invasion of their privacy.
If I may, something that we do very often is community engagement. I did see that you have a new commission or board of residents, so we're happy to speak in front of them and inform them, right? So I think Flock thinks it's really important to let folks know what these cameras can do to protect the community, and then all the safeguards as well, right? So it's really, we agree with that. So happy to work with Carmen on that and get that set up.
Okay, we can put that on the agenda.
I think also if going to a referendum is something that the board is open to, time is of the essence with that, if I'm not mistaken, because that would have to be drafted, and if you wanted to get in April, I believe it's like a November date.
Gary, is it 90 days prior to the election if we would do a referendum on something?
Mm-hmm. It's like November something.
Time limit?
Yeah. Time limit, 90 days, I think?
Yes. You couldn't put it on this coming election. You would have to wait.
On the April 4th election,
For April, if you wanted to do that, yes.
Yeah, so we have 160 days before the next election.
That's a lot of time, and I think we can get a lot of workshops and a lot of community engagement on this if we just jump on it.
Okay.
I mean, is it, I guess, a good question to ask, is it something that, is there a consensus to go to referendum? Is that something?
I just threw it out there.
I'd rather discuss it at committee.
So I can understand, so we can direct staff. So bring it to committee, and then maybe from committee, if they decide,
then
put
we'll
it to the
decide from
board
there.
to go for referendum?
Well, I think we should have a workshop, at least with the residents, to let them.
Want to do a workshop
to
that?
see- Yeah, I would say.
So committee then workshop?
Residents, yeah.
I don't think a committee should decide if it goes to
No, I think the residents should have. input on
Recommendations
this.
for it.
Of course.
Yeah, you know.
Get the feedback from the residents.
Absolutely.
At workshop, at committee, and then come back before the board and decide if we'll do a referendum or not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let it go through as many layers as it has to. The more heads that get into it, the better.
Yeah.
My opinion.
Okay, thank you.
Also, with
Thank
that
you.
being said, I know that we had discussed, timing in the 160 days. Do we still plan on having 2 meetings in November and 2 in December, just so we have this?
I think that was going to be brought up at the first, I know we were going to discuss it in the first board meeting on November for the holiday of Thanksgiving, and we're also going to bring up the Christmas holiday meeting on the December 28th. So those two were going to be discussed. I'm not really sure where the board's at with that.
We typically, on the one right before the holidays, I mean, come on, we need a break.
Yeah, right, so that's what I'm saying. We in the years past, we haven't only had one in November and one in December. Just something to keep in mind. You're talking about 60 days there then that could go by. So I'm just wanting to keep in mind, because there is only 160 days before the next election, so we have to have that calendar. Can we make sure that we tickle that on the calendar so we know?
So we would have meetings, all right, so the 9th and the 23rd, you're saying we would probably cancel the 23rd?
Correct.
Okay, so we have the 9th, then we have December 7th, 14th, and the 21st.
I don't know what the board decides in December. Typically in December, there's at least one that's canceled.
Christmas?
No.
Okay, so then you would still have the 28th.
I don't know what the board, yeah.
We will have 2 meetings.
In December.
Actually, 3 meetings, no, 2, I'm sorry, 2 meetings in December.
14th and the 28th.
14th and the 28th, so we'll be fine.
If I may, a question for the board. From the Flock side, the only thing stopping us from at least getting permits for the additional cameras is permission from the village. Although we're happy to do a community engagement and use the process, wanted to make sure, depending on whatever outcome of those meetings, we're still moving forward so that we can install those if and when.
I think the reason that we're not moving forward, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we voted in the previous meeting that we were unhappy with the level of service that we were receiving. I said it's 10 months exactly today. So now it's great that you have this effort to be trying to get us permits to get in more cameras, but the lack of accountability upset this board greatly. So including those that were highly in favor of the Flock camera system. So that's what we're here to address tonight. It didn't have to get this far. So that's, as long as you understand that, we're still entertaining the idea of keeping the system, but we definitely want to explore this a lot more, and now we want to involve our public. So that's where we're at right now today, correct? Am I wrong?
Right.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Hector.
Okay, if there's anything else, let me know. Otherwise, I need a motion to adjourn.
Mayor, we were going to, under new business, we were going to talk about the Lockport sewer water agreement.
Okay, so I guess Ruben had a couple points that he wanted to...
Well, not points, I just had questions.
Okay.
So as of right now, currently we have a contract and agreement that was set many years back with the city of Lockport to provide...
Affluent.
I'm sorry?
Affluent.
Yes. Yeah. And we have how many years left on that?
So that ends on 2030?
2030.
Yes, we got 7
more years. So as of right now, we have a few developments in the pipeline.
Correct.
2 of them who have been basically notified by the city of Lockport that they're not going to get any sanitation service.
Correct.
So legally, per the agreement, Lockport has to service them because that's the contract that they signed. That's the contract that we paid $50,000 for them to honor. Am I correct?
Correct.
Council?
I thought there was a suggestion that there was $50,000 that was paid, but not for that purpose. Am I incorrect on that?
The IGA reads that there was $50,000 laid out for permitting the affluent for our Fittiman Creek sanitary district that would expire in 2030 with a 10-year renewable for 2 10-year renewables. That encompasses, I think it's 74. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Brett, because I think you might know the number. 7150 PEs which is quite a lot. It's a huge area. I think the gas station does about 43, right, PEs at the time? And that's not much, so.
So just to be clear, and I'm just throwing an example of a development out there, the example, or the development next to Glenview Walks Estates. What's the name of that development?
It doesn't have a name, but
Doesn't have a name,
Moises
okay.
is the.
Moises is the developer, okay. So for that development, as of right now, the sanitation goes into which processing plant?
It goes to the Bonnie Bray.
Bonnie Bray. So as of right now, the capacity of Bonnie Bray is what?
30%.
It's 30%.
Okay, well, is that what they have left, or is that what they have full?
They're using 30%. The problem is not the amount, it's the degradation of the plant. That's the problem Lockport's facing. It has nothing to do with what they can take on in that plant. It's the degradation of the plant itself, where it's actually basically failing is what, it was earmarked for a 10-year usage, and now it is at a 20-year usage, and it's degrading pretty rapidly.
So I guess my next question is, in the agreement, because I read it briefly, I didn't, comb through it. Is there a clause or something in that agreement that says, hey, in the event that our place starts rotting, we can't take any more sanitation or any more development or anything of the sort because our place is rotting and it's falling apart and it's no good anymore? It doesn't mention capacity, it mentions...
Correct. That's a great question. It doesn't mention anything about degradation of the plant or anything like that.
Right.
Carrie, correct me if I'm wrong, you're probably familiar with the...
I had a couple follow-up questions after that, but go ahead, Carrie.
The agreement with Lockport does not mention degradation at all. It does not mention capacity. The agreement says we will provide all of our wastewater. When I say we, the village, this is...
Trustee Fialco, can you put your phone on mute or your device on mute? Thank you.
I could not hear you. Could you repeat that again, please?
Would you mind putting your device on mute? We're just getting...
My device was on mute.
Oh, we're just getting some feedback.
Okay.
Sorry.
The agreement says that the village, within the Fittiman Creek, or whatever the area is called, I don't have the agreement in front of me, but it says the village will provide all of its wastewater, and Lockport will accept all of its wastewater. It's pretty straightforward. The boundary agreement doesn't really address specifics concerning capacity, if I'm not mistaken. But the boundary agreement says if there are capacity issues, they will be decided on a first come, first served basis. And that's about as far as it goes. And so somewhere at some point in time, and you are all familiar with the situation which came about with Lockport concerning the road district, all right? Somewhere at some point in time, Lockport determined that they were not going to accept any more wastewater over and above what they're accepting now. I have no idea why, okay? And that's why one of the reasons I asked the mayor if he had conversation, if he was saying that he had not had conversation, or if he had conversation with Lockport concerning the future wastewater disposal from the village. And if you have in fact had that conversation or have had those conversations, I think it's important for you as trustees to know at this point in time what the nature of those conversations were, or if there was a determination made. And so I'm going to ask you again, Mayor, have you had conversation with the village of or the city of Lockport concerning this subject matter? wastewater disposal. I'm sorry, what?
Mayor, will you please talk in your
Speak into the
microphone?
microphone, Mayor, so we can all hear you.
They're taking our wastewater right now, but that's over a couple of years.
All right, and have you had, I know they're taking our wastewater now. That's a given. With respect to the subject matter of taking wastewater from new developments, if I'll be a little more specific, have you had conversation with Lockport about that?
No.
Okay. To digress, did you have conversation with Lockport about remuneration for the assets of the road district? In other words, was there a promise made to Lockport, which we're not aware of, promising to pay Lockport for what it considered to be its portion of the value of the assets of the road district? And the reason I ask that is because I'm convinced what Rockport is doing at this point in time is essentially acting as it is because it believes that the village did not follow through with the promise made. So I think we need to know that, so as we approach this in the future, we know what the facts are. So was there a promise made?
We did talk to him about that, and Mr. Balich is the one that said that, yeah, you don't have to pay him. You don't owe him anything.
I'm sorry, you mumbled. You mumbled.
guys handled it from there.
No, I guess, Mr. Mayor, this is I think it's a time to be honest with your board. For lack of a better way to approach this, I don't care what Mr. Baelish said. Mr. Baelish is not on this board. He does not vote. He did not have anything to do with the negotiations with Lockport. So what I'd like to know is, did you or members of the village, at your behest, negotiate with Lockport and make a promise to reimburse Lockport for what it claimed was the value of the assets of the road district? And the reason I'm asking that is because I believe Lockport has reacted in the manner it has with respect to wastewater based upon what it believed it was promised. And so I'm asking you, did you make a promise?
No, I never made a promise.
Did you ever discuss with them the amount of money that the village would pay?
Council, it seems to me that you're going down
No, I'm not going down a road
that won't lead anywhere, because let's assume for our purposes of conversation that there was. The mayor cannot bind this village.
I understand he can't bind the village.
Whatever conversations that might have taken place, if they took place at all, are meaningless. It would be like our village administrator going and talking to the city of Lockport's administrator and trying to put something together. Not the authority to bind anyone. And so,
Mr. Silverman, thank you very much. I asked the mayor a question, not you. I asked the mayor a question, not you. Please, if he's saying he didn't make a promise, fine. Did you discuss with Lockport the subject matter of remuneration and come up with a definitive amount or range of amounts that would be paid to them, Mayor? Please be honest with us, yes or no?
Don't, you know what, I'm tired of you, you always try to beat me up.
Point of order.
Shut up.
Point of order, ignoramus.
Point of order. He's asking me questions, you clam up.
Water?
All right.
They're threatening us with water at this point in sewage. What part of this don't you understand? They seem to feel that we owe them, and they thought we owed them almost $1 million. They stated to us numerous times.
Yes, they did.
Why did they say that? Why are they withholding treatment, water treatment from us?
I don't believe they are.
Well, that's not what they're saying. That's not what Darren Deskin is saying.
Darren isn't on the board anymore either.
All right, well, just to give everybody an idea.
You're not being honest.
Just to give everybody an idea.
And you screwed this village.
The city of Lockport is basically breaking their contract that still have 7 years left on it. Now, I wish I knew their reasoning. Most people don't break an agreement, especially something as major as sanitation. And this all started, yes, Mr. Ballage did point out a lot of numbers that had to do with the levy and a lot of things that, that he thought should not be paid. We looked at it. You agreed with it, sir. This is not something, I know you're saying that we're in charge of it, but you agreed because I went up to you personally and said, sir, this isn't right. We should look at it. And you said, okay, go ahead. Let's look at it. So I guess at the end of the day, pointing fingers doesn't help any of us. What helps us right now is we are identifying the problem and we're looking for a solution. The city of Lockport is breaking what was the original contract? It was for how many years?
I believe it was 10 years.
10 years. We still
And 50 grand.
Right, so we had the option to renew, but as of right now, we still have 7 years left on this contract. We cannot keep developing because they're actually sending our developers that want to build here notices, hey, you can't build here because we're not giving you sewer.
You're absolutely right.
That's basically where we're at.
And I'd like to know the reason why that's happening, and I'm sorry,
We're
Mayor.
empowered, that's why.
I'm not trying to harangue you in any way, shape, or form, but I think if we had an honest understanding, it would allow us then to formulate an approach when we go to Lockport so that we can come back with a resolution as opposed to a lawsuit. And so if you don't want to tell us, fine, Mayor, that's fine. But I think my gut sense is that there was a little bit more than discussion.
So that you're on the table with it, what are you referring to? What's your basis for saying that?
What is my basis for saying it? My basis for saying it is that the mayor, the former village manager.
Wait. No one needs to talk over each other. You get the floor when you're talking. He gets the floor when he's talking. Don't interrupt him. He won't interrupt you.
He asked me a question. What's my basis?
And you started talking.
You're absolutely right.
What are you looking for, Kerry? What are you looking for?
George, you sat here at a meeting with the former village manager, and you recommended to this board, to this entire board, that it pay somewhere between $800,000 and $1.2 million to the village of Lockport with respect to the road district assets which it claimed it was entitled to. I didn't make that number up. No one on this board of trustees made that number up. You made that number up along with the former village manager, and you recommended it. So I'm wondering if that number was just made up out of thin air or if that was made up as a result of an agreement. That is the answer to your question, council.
And it doesn't answer it. It does answer it perfectly.
All right, just
wait a minute. In layman terms, Ruben said it. Ruben said it beautifully. They felt that we owed them a lot of money. There were obviously backdoor meetings that none of us on this board, maybe Beth was, but we weren't privy to, okay? So now we're dealing with retaliation from another suburb that's holding hostage our water treatment.
And they can't hold us hostage. I mean, they can hold us hostage.
They can't.
Legally, they cannot. But the problem is, if you look at the whole picture, they're continuing to develop Lockport. They're not holding back on any of their developments, but yet they're coming after our developers and telling our developers that they will not furnish sewer for us. I mean, that's ridiculous.
And
they're building new stuff every day in Lockport.
I'll read a part of an email from Lockport. It says, Lockport is prepared to communicate with those developers directly to deny their applications, but it will be pertinent if Homer Glen was upfront with those developers, which we have been. So they announced this to us, and the struggle is you know, these developers are coming in and they're spending a lot of money for our community, and we're not getting any recourse. You know, we're not getting any, you know, communications or any kind of talking about or nothing. It's just, you know, it's dead silence on that end. A number came out to me that, you know, if you guys give us $15 million to build a wastewater treatment, we'll take your affluent. I don't know if this village is ready to do
Less than that, we can build our own.
So,
And the mayor has stated on record at these meetings that he knew for a fact that they weren't going to provide water for our developments.
No, that's not true.
It is true.
You lie like a rug.
And
I know
you-
it's old, but...
I'm not lying. I haven't been lying.
Yeah,
I've
you're-
never lied on this dais.
Oh, my...
You have, and shame on you. And I'm not going to put up with your verbal attacks and abuse on me anymore at these board meetings.
All right, so at this point, I would just like to talk about our options. It is what it is. Here we are. Later, someday we'll go back and investigate how it happened, but at this point, we need solutions. And Manager Morella, guys, please, please. I know we have a few options, correct? Some are cheaper than others. But at the end of the day, one of them involves some sort of a cooperation with Lockport because basically the processing plant that they have is no good, they're saying, and it needs to be rebuilt, which they are planning on rebuilding one.
Right.
but I can give you those options if you want.
I'd love you to
Let me speak, okay. So yeah, there are a few options, you know. Our staff has worked diligently with the developers to come up with some really good solutions. You know, they always say, you know, we want certainty. That's hard to do with the developer, you know, when you don't control your infrastructure, and I'm speaking of water and wastewater treatment. So the options we have is we can go to Illinois American Water. We can put it in the pipeline, we can put it in the sewer. They can take the effluent, but they want the pipe. So we're gonna outlay the pipe, they're gonna get the pipe. You know, it's a simple math, you know.
And charges for it.
Yes, correct.
Yeah,
Then they're going to charge our residents for it. So that's one option. Our second option is Lockport's looking to shut down the Bonnie Bray plant, build a lift station, send the effluents to their Division Street plant, which is at capacity. With expansion of that plant. And that's where the $15 million is. You know, we're going to expand it, give us $15 million, we'll let you guys bring your sewer in. So that's our other option. So, and, you know, talking with staff and crunching numbers, we figured with doing that, we only produce about 25% of what that plant's going to be capable of. So when you say you're going to outlay $15 million, and I'm looking at 25% because I'm an accountant and math's in my head all the time, that comes to 3.7, not 15. So I'm looking at it that way, you know, because it's important. This is our stakeholders' future, and it's in our, you know, future stakeholders' future. So we got to look at it that way. Our other option is to build our own and create our own destiny, and that takes a lot of political will, and it takes a lot of staff man hours, because that would not be a short endeavor, because with that, and now having a public works department which could help facilitate that work, we might be in a position that we might want to think about doing that. I'm not saying we should do that, but it may be an option to think about doing that. And when I say think about doing that, I think the staff and everybody here would like to hear a recommendation that we move forward with a feasibility study. We're estimating it to be about $60,000 to give us an idea. If it's even feasible to do that, if we can crunch the right numbers, if we put the plan on with outlaying the money, that we can recoup the money in the future. So that's kind of where we're at with staff and trying to get what the board would like to do.
Carmen, if we did this on our own, wouldn't there be grants that we could apply for that would cover some of the costs?
There are grants, and as everybody knows, usually they're matching, so you would have to do a match. So, you know, we look at that. We can look at constructing it and doing things like that, constructing it first, going out to bond for it when it's operating. You know, there's a lot of options we could do. I think the most important part is if we go for grants, we got to keep in mind, we got to match it, and the money has to be there, and that's kind of the important part there. So these are the options I have for us. We've worked really hard on trying to get these options to you guys as a board. We have felt that it's taken us some time, but, you know, not having an engineer in the house, now we do have an engineer in the house, and now discussing stuff with the extension we're doing with Fitteman Creek, all these options are coming up, and then in the interim, we have developers screaming at our door to develop in our town build homes, to bring, to bring commercial in here. And what's stopping them is the certainty that they can have sewer and water. If we build our own plant, it's a 7-year process. If we go to Lockport, I'm not really sure if it's even feasible yet, because we haven't sat with Lockport. The other option is going with Illinois American Water, and we all know how that works for us as a village. I think, George, you can probably highlight that on our water, what's the Will County Water Commission? I mean, we don't even know where we stand with that yet, The last meeting I was attended to, we were in an exec session, so I never got to even get purview of what was even going on with that. So there's a lot of stuff going on with Illinois American Water, and we all know where that leads, so.
One quick question, and this is just throwing it out there. Assuming we go ahead and build this, would we own that sewer line?
Well, if we build our own wastewater treatment, we own Fitteman Creek at the moment. So we would own the treatment plant, we'd own some of the infrastructure that would house the area that we're talking about with the FP that Lockport is handicapping.
And since we own it, would Illinois American Water be able to bill us for, which is what the majority of the water is, the sewer line?
Yes, they can.
No, at that point in time, it would be ours and ours to bill.
And so that would be taken off the water bill that everybody is up in arms about. I mean, in a perfect
That's going to go up.
You've got to build it first, and it's not.
Sir, we're talking future. We're having conversations. We're not going to pull the trigger today, but we're being informed by the village manager who's filling us in, and which I hope other people would do. But thank you, Manager Morella, for filling us in.
You're welcome.
Mr. Sawyer, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, just a quick question. When you say they want to close the Bonnie Bray, is that what?
Lockport wants to close it, not us.
Right. So to go over to Division, is that because Bonnie Bray is just functionally obsolescent?
It's degrading, yes, correct. Yeah, but it's a steel-based plant. It was housed for 10 years and it's been running at 20 years. So it's degrading. What they want to do is put a lift station there to ship to their Division Street plant. And that's where our Fitteman Creek extension runs into right now, is the Bonnie.
Hello, come in, waste agreement together, Carmen?
Yes. Go ahead, Dan.
Yes. When the agreement was put together, though, they knew that at that time. And we're two different things here. One is the immediate problem. As far as the immediate problem, I think that we had a contract, we knew what the age or the life of it was, we put that contract together. We paid $50,000 to get that. So now, for us to look, enforcing our contract would be likely to go immediate. Yes, long-term things already, I think it's great, but that long-term.
Trustee Fialco, we can't, you're cutting in and out, we can't hear you.
I'm sorry?
You're cutting in and out, we didn't understand a thing, at least we didn't understand anything you said.
Not a word.
That'd be hard for the minutes.
Okay, can you?
I think what he was trying to say
Can you hear me
was,
better now?
what he was trying to say is what I was trying to say, but I wasn't able to finish this. It seems like the timing doesn't make sense to me. If they knew that that was a 10-year plant, and when we got into it, that there's no language in the document, I don't know, relative to that issue is.
We totally agree.
Okay.
Totally agree.
And then I'll also answer your question. I've never been to the city or village of Lockport. I don't even know where it's located. I don't even know what Ben Bessemer looks like. I don't know what the mayor looks like. I've never been part of any of those meetings.
The easiest thing is just sit down with Lockport, which we should have done a long time ago.
All right, Carmen, can you hear me?
I thought he was unwilling to sit down.
Yes, Dan, we can hear you.
He'd sit down with me.
Okay, hopefully this is better. We have two issues. One is an immediate problem, the long-term problem. In the forefront here, we need to worry about the immediate problem. We have a contract that we paid $50,000 for and enforced. As far as Lockport calling up potential clients of this villages and forewarning them or scaring them away, I would think that that wouldn't be part of the contract, that they would even have the right to be doing that. So I think for us to look long-term is one part of it, but to have the immediate resolution in resolving and holding them, you know, to the contract that they've agreed to, when they came up with this, they knew the year of, you know, I mean, when they put this together, they knew how old it was, and that's not stopping us. That is just something that they're adding in there now. But they knew that when they put the contract together. So to me, I think we should move forward with enforcement of the contract and then worry about the long-term solution later on.
Mr. Sawyer, I have a question as I'm listening. I like the idea of doing a feasibility study. It's a lot of money. And I don't like us touching the American Recovery Act funding. I think I told you that at our last budget meeting. Is that something, if we entertain this idea, is that something that we could use that funding for?
Yeah, it's an eligible cost.
Okay.
We may have earmarked some of it already. I believe the ARPA money is about 3.7 million, a little bit less. Let me come back to you and let us, you know, I think we could maybe subsidize some of the bigger road work that might be going on.
Thank you.
But yeah, it's definitely a qualified expense.
Okay.
I think Trustee Fialco had a very valid point. Yeah, we're talking about the future, right? Taking control of our own destiny, which would be building our own facility. But at the end of the day, right now, staring us in the face is developers who cannot continue, even though these are projects that were approved by this board, they cannot continue because Lockport shut them down, sanitation-wise. We even had one developer basically getting extorted. He says, oh, I'll give them $500,000 just so they could take our sewer water. That's how they're treating our developers. So their priority is Lockport, but our priority is Homer Glen. So I think that's something we need to jump on ASAP. Mayor, if you want to go, let's go meet with Mayor Straight or take one of the trustees with you, but we need to come to a solution ASAP. No more back room, no more secret phone calls, no more secret texts that I've been seeing. Let's just get it done.
And who's been doing that?
Darren Deskin. He's been communicating with you guys.
He isn't communicating with me.
He's been reaching out to you guys. Well, whatever.
I've also got a lot of FOIAs, about 1,500 emails from Lockport, just so you know.
Let's just move forward, guys. Enough with this.
Here, what we did is we put water in from Cedar down to Gowger. We put the sewer line in from Cedar down to Gowger. And then they tied in from there. They are paying us back in full. They do not get any money of anything that was done there until we are paid in full. That we made sure we did. And you got to remember, we don't own the infrastructure either. They do. So if there's no place to put it, then really you got a real big problem.
You're the mayor, George.
No one's ever talked to them. Carmen.
This is our community, George. I think we all have a big problem.
We do have a big problem.
Yeah, that's why we're here discussing it.
Well, we discussed a little bit before, too, of just someone sitting down with them. And I don't know if you sat down with him because you said you were going to go see Ben. I said, do you want me to go with? And you said, no, I'm just going to meet him for lunch. I don't know if you did or not. But we need to sit down with Steve, and most likely I don't know.
I had communication with Ben Benson, yes, and I'll be forthcoming in telling you that. And as a village administrator that Ben Benson is, and me as a village manager as I am, do not have the authority to make any executive decisions to move this village forward on any decision. So when I speak to him about that, excuse me, Mayor, if I could finish up. When I speak to him about that, it's imperative that our board and our mayor can get together with Lockport and have a conversation so we can move forward with what the issue we're having at hand. And I think that's the bigger picture. Or can I just have permission from the board to go ahead with a couple trustees to go and sit in a meeting and figure this out? I mean, I'm coming to you guys for, the staff's hands are tied. We're coming for help, and It doesn't seem like we're getting it, and that's,
I mean, I would be more than happy to come with you and sit down, because we need to get this resolved, because they're continuing to build, but yet they're holding our developers hostage. And I think we have a contract in place that warrants actually reviewing by our attorneys and then moving forward if they're not going to honor our contract.
I have a question.
Absolutely.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Okay. Because I know that Mr. Horvath understands this well. I don't believe that our mayor understands that this is a council, village manager form of government. Do you?
It is not statutorily a city manager form of government, this unit.
Carrie, is that true?
I missed the question, sorry. You're a board of trustees.
Yes.
Your village manager is hired.
Yes.
You are a board of trustees. Your village manager is hired by you. A true managerial form of government, the village manager has a great deal of executive authority, including appointing the various department heads, and then the city council or village board is limited to basically legislative decisions. So you are a mayor and board of trustees, or a board of trustees. And so you act as a board. You can take recommendations from your manager, but the manager is without authorization.
What I was trying to explain here is that the mayor seems to think that he's the one that's in charge all the time.
No, he's not. You as a board.
That's what I'm trying to
You as a board.
You took everything
Are
away.
are the authority. In fact, the mayor's a member of your board, but his ability to vote is limited to certain types of to have a meaningful vote is limited to certain types of situations. He does chair the meetings, okay? But in your community, you all actually pick your committees, all right?
Took that away from me too.
If I may, I'm answering the trustee's question, Mayor. You don't need to be contentious, and I'll listen to what you have to say, I'm sure.
I wasn't contentious.
So what my suggestion might be is that if you think it's appropriate to have your manager meet with the manager in Lockport and possibly have another trustee with him, trustee or trustees, that you can do that, and that might be a way to open the door and possibly open up a line of communication with Lockport. But short of that, all you have left then with Lockport is to either accept their statement that they're not going to let future development connect, or take action to enforce your contract. But I think it wouldn't hurt to sit down and try and talk with them.
And one of the things that you have to think about is that if you do have a meeting and there is an adequate number of trustees there, it certainly would be or could be considered an open meeting. So there would.
But if two went, it wouldn't. If you pick two trustees.
It depends. We have a committee structure here.
So one trustee and the village manager? I would be comfortable with that. In Lockport, listen, they watch every meeting.
And the other component that I hear our or village manager, and I think it would be helpful, this is my feeling, that you put together what you see is really kind of your need list and how to go about what you think the village needs to do and needs to accomplish, so that you can have a conversation then with the members of this board and at least get the gist of what they're thinking, so all of you know the potential direction you want to take before the meeting.
Yeah, staff and I do have that list, so we've been working on it quite diligently for quite some time now.
I wouldn't have any objection with the mayor going with one of the trustees, or, I mean, I don't know how the Open Meetings Act works, so, I mean, I don't know, someone, right? So the mayor and 2 trustees, that would be an infraction on that, correct?
It certainly could be, but I think in any regard, our city manager, our city administrator should be there.
Absolutely.
So the city manager, a trustee, and the mayor, I think that would be adequate. I mean,
Yes,
absolutely.
I would agree to that.
When the trustees are done, may I make a comment? Are you guys done?
I'm done.
With all due respect, majority of the board members here, and even Attorney Horvath, were not here for the discussions that existed before. So Attorney Horvath, I had given you some dates of some meetings that had taken place. Did you have the chance to review those recordings?
What recordings are you referring to?
When this discussion got brought up before, you had asked me if there were some discussions that had taken place, and I had given you some dates that reflected that time frame. If you haven't, I would just suggest whoever is going to this next meeting, or whatever meeting it may be, just listen to the meeting minutes, just to get yourself familiar with what took place in executive session before you go to that meeting.
What executive session are you referring to?
You had asked me a few months ago to provide you with some dates of some meetings, and I did. Of executive session regarding what took place with this transfer, with the water issue, or what was promised to Lockport. Do you remember that?
I don't recall asking you that, but if I did, I don't recall getting any information in response. But when you say view
It's okay, I can provide you with whatever.
What do you want me to view? I'm sorry. I know exactly what went on at the meeting that I just referenced, and I know exactly what was suggested, and I have the necessary documents from that meeting to refresh my memory. But regardless, to get past this, my suggestion is that, at least initially, an attempt be made to have a discussion with the village of Lockport. Now, if having the mayor there would be helpful, then so be it. The mayor and the manager could meet with the mayor and the manager of Lockport, or whomever Lockport deems appropriate. If that would be helpful, maybe some information could be exchanged. If there's some substance that could come out of it, probably would be beneficial. And then they can report to you what transpired, and then we'll all know how to proceed. If Lockport just slams the door in your face, well, you'll know that. If Lockport says, we want $4 million, I'm just throwing a number out there, $4 million from you to do something, then you'll know that. If they say, well, we need to combine our efforts to develop something, you'll know that. But I think the first meeting, if having the mayor there would be helpful, fine. I think that might be helpful. Maybe then Lockport would hear from your manager, who I think has a very good handle on what's going on, and the mayor. How hard is that to set up a meeting, you know? You don't need council, you don't need board action to do that? I mean...
Unfortunately, we've been talking about this for months.
Yeah.
We keep talking about this for months, saying that we're going to set up a meeting, somebody's going to set up a meeting, and everybody tries to set up a meeting, and then no meeting ever happens. We've been talking about this for months.
Trustee Reinders, I think the manager would be more than willing to do that. I don't know if the mayor wants to cooperate with the manager or not, but my suggestion would be, since it's the village's interest, that he do.
Exactly.
So, I think that's the easiest first step. Anything after that is going to involve all of you, because they'll report to you.
Absolutely.
And then you'll know what your options really are. Does that sound rational?
Absolutely.
Well,
yes.
Yes.
Mayor, would you cooperate with the village manager to meet with the village of Lockport?
Why wouldn't
I just, no,
Restate me with everything that I can do something.
maybe I didn't ask you why you wouldn't.
Point of order, can you just do a meeting with the village manager and another trustee, please?
It's a simple yes. Would you cooperate with him?
I said yes.
Okay. I think that solves
great
the problem initially.
And I have one more thing that I'd like to add for old business. You ready, guys?
At least then we can go home tonight.
Before we move on,
Well, are we in
I've
new
got
business?
something I'd like to ask Carrie. Carrie?
Yes, Sam.
I'd like you, just Carrie, to also give a council's opinion as to move in enforcement of the contract that we currently have an agreement with, and where we would be with that. If you could, maybe by the next meeting, and maybe we could go into executive session and we can discuss enforcement of the current contract that we have and the money that we spent out already to work with Lockport in that original contract. And just to roll back the dice a little bit, in late 2021, before a meeting, and when I believe Lockport was showing up that day, George, you did come to me and you said, Dan, the number's $750,000. So I'm assuming that you had some type of negotiations that you had done with them, otherwise you wouldn't have gave me that number. And that is what I remember as far as that far ago. That was over a year ago, I believe. So
It was
anyway.
actually more than that, Dan. But no one did anything about it except Mr. Ballard saying that we didn't know Lockport anything. So,
Trustee Fialko,
you had told me that previous to that happening, though. You told me the number $750,000. So I assume that you had some type of negotiations with Lockport. That's my assumption.
No.
But I'll leave it at that.
no,
Trustee Fialko, I'll be glad to report back to the board at the next meeting with respect to the wastewater agreement, and perhaps Mr. Silverman might also want to look at it. If you don't have a copy, I'll be happy to email it to you so that you can give your opinion as well. Seems like we probably could come to the same type of opinion, but sometimes two heads are better than one. What do you think?
All right, thank you.
I want to make sure that we do our best for our client. And so if you want to send it to me, send it to me. Name is not Silverman, though.
Oh, I apologize. I apologize. I don't use,
Thank you.
Mr. Mahoney, I apologize.
And the client is our village, correct? Not the mayor.
We represent the village.
Thank you.
So I think before we talk about enforcement, I think we should just take step one, which is meeting with Lockport, my opinion.
Consensus? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
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 So who's going to initiate that, so we're not sitting here next week, and 2 weeks from now going, why didn't anybody have a meeting? Is that something that you can initiate and work with George on?
Yeah, I can talk to George, we can set something up. You may want to come from the mayor of the office of the mayor, because it seems to have more weight. So I think that might be an option, so we might have to get an email out to the mayor's office. So I'll talk to George about that. George, if you're willing to talk to me about it.
I have no problem. I have no problem calling the mayor of Lockport and talking to him, and same thing with Ben. And we'll get to the meat on this pretty quick. So,
Like you know something, is there something we're missing here?
well, I still said that we owed him money.
Okay.
So, what else do you want?
Well, I'd like to in the next meeting, actually, there was a reason we came to the number 0. And I am actually glad you're bringing that up, sir, because let's let the public...
I know, just be careful you're not...
Oh, legal stuff.
Executive.
Okay, I'm sorry. Wow, I really want the public to know numbers, but, I guess we'll discuss it with the attorneys. And guys, there was a reason why we didn't pay what we paid, because Homer Glen should not have paid that, because that was not their debt. Whether other people thought it was, that's a different story. But we're not taking that out of the pockets of our residents, period. My opinion, legal or not.
Okay.
One last thing, in old business, because apparently there was a Will County Board meeting last week, and I'd like to read off the article and some comments regarding this, because even though we only have a few people left here tonight, sorry about that, guys, I want this on the record. Will County Board approved a self-service storage facility Thursday to be built on about 32 acres of vacant farmland in Homer Township over the objections of the Village of Homer Glen, which wanted to keep the land in its future planning area. Peter and Amy Katowitz, who own an outdoor self-service storage facility in Volo, want to open a second Illinois location in the 15300 block of 159th Street. This is between Gauger and Cedar Roads. The business would provide traditional drive-up and temperature-controlled self-storage and also areas to store boats and recreational vehicles. Peter Katowitz said he is building a high-quality, state-of-the-art facility that would complement the nearby area, and he plans to donate 10 acres of land in the back of his property to the Forest Preserve District of Will County, which abuts the proposed storage facility. Homer Glen officials objected to the plan this summer because they would like input on developing the 159th Street corridor from our public. Melissa King, Homer Glen's Director of Planning and Zoning, said the industrial zoning and proposed use is not compatible with this area. She said the village's vision is to have a mixed development with retailers, restaurants, and other sales tax producers, as well as offices and housing. She said village officials are concerned once the land is rezoned, other properties could be rezoned as well. Homer Glen Village Manager Carmen Morella said prime developable land has sat vacant on 159th Street while the Illinois Department of Transportation completed its multi-year widening project and the village extended utilities. Let the village control the development is what we are asking, Morella said. Will County Board member Steve Balich, who is also the Homer Township Supervisor, said Homer Township officials also object to the plan. The project itself looks nice, Balich said. It's just in the wrong area. Bonnie Willis, a real estate agent representing the property and a Homer Township resident, said the storage facility fits well along the corridor, which also includes a gas station, furniture store, landscaping business, a picnic grove, vacant land, and houses. Areas throughout the corridor have different zoning classifications. She said if nearby residents objected, they would have protested to the county, but they didn't voice any concerns. Rather, she said she collected signatures from neighbors who supported the development. I want to thank our village staff, our village manager Carmen Morella, and our zoning and planning director Melissa King. You both attended this meeting on our behalf of this board and our decision not to approve it. You both argued on behalf of our community. Unfortunately, I have to point out who did not fight for our community. Homer Glen, your mayor was in attendance at this Will County Board meeting last week. He signed in and he was acknowledged as a speaker, yet he sat there and he said nothing, and he did nothing. He did not speak out when his good friend and Will County Board member Mike Fricciolone rallied his caucus and fought hard for a yes vote. Township Supervisor Steve Balich is also on that board, and he fought against the plan because the Homer Township Board had also rejected it. I want to point out that just 4 days before the Will County Board meeting, your mayor stood right in this room and rallied his friends and the electoral candidates that he is supporting with his open space campaign against the Township Board. He spoke directly against the Township Board, and he campaigned against the sale of the Township's open space property. Point of order. He went so far as to deny a microphone to the Homer Township Board members as they spoke, but he stood idly by and handed a microphone to each and every friend and resident that spoke against the township. He actually facilitated the audience and encouraged their screaming, their speaking out of turn, and their swearing at the board members. Yet, when one lonely resident spoke in favor of the Township Board, he requested that the officer present at the meeting remove him before his 3 minutes were up at public comment. This is what you call politics and electioneering in Homer Glen. Your mayor did it publicly and on video. What your mayor did by sitting quietly at the Will County Board meeting last week, just 4 short days after his battle cries to protect open space and speaking very loud and clear about his politics. Now let's talk about his hypocrisy. Your mayor allowed his buddy to steal our authority over our community's property and what kind of commercial property we want in Homer Glen. He allowed industrial zoning to come into Homer Glen in the blink of an eye without your consent or this board's approval. Thanks to George Yukich and Mike Fritch alone, a dangerous precedent has been set, and now anyone purchasing property in that area can apply and get industrial zoning. I always hear the mayor complaining he doesn't want Homer Glen to look like Cicero Avenue. Yet, he opened the doors for somebody to come in and probably build a strip club in our own neighborhood. Whether the mayor allowed this because he has some personal gain from it or because he's incompetent and senile, I don't know. I personally believe that he knew exactly what he was doing and what was going on. Therefore, I'm going to keep my promise to keep pointing out every time he continues to electioneer and campaign on our dime with our village and our residents. This man continues to shame our community. It does no good for me to tell him to resign. It has to come from all of you, our residents. We've publicly censured him, and the majority of this board is doing what we can do to work around him, because unfortunately, we can't work with him, especially when he is stabbing us and our staff in the back. End of report.
Okay, now it's my turn. I went to the meeting, yes. I did go to the meeting because I wanted to see what was going to happen. I didn't speak. I never went up there. I don't know hardly any of the people up there. Frizzalone? Yep. Musa? Yep. Never talked to Mr. Musa. I talked to Steve because he came in and said he's going to be the savior of this. It wouldn't have mattered any which way. I'm not talking to you. Well, I wish you really were. So, you are just so, you amaze me. Good. Well, you know what? There's a camera doing that for you. And that's the other thing. You film all these people.
Can we move on to new business?
Here, we got anything left?
Please.
All right, I need a motion to adjourn.
No executive session, correct? Just I need it stated for the...
Executive session?
All right, I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I do have something left. I do have something under old business.
Jesus Christ. Go ahead.
I do have something under old business, please.
Go ahead.
All right. I asked about prayer last time. I did hear your comment in the beginning. Had you a chance, Carrie, to look into that? You were going to look into that and get back to us as far as putting prayer after the Pledge of Allegiance.
What?
He was asking if we were going to put prayer after the Pledge of Allegiance.
Well, it's church and state. It's not going to happen.
I'm asking Carrie.
Trustee, I did not have an opportunity to do any research with respect to that.
Okay, in the meantime, what I'd like to do, Carmen, for our next meeting is to put it on the agenda to change the ordinance to include the prayer after the Pledge of Allegiance. And in the meantime, if it is challenged any which way, we'll talk about it on the board at that time. In the meantime, Carrie, could you follow up on that for me, please? And now more than ever, it seems like we need a little prayer. And it has nothing to do with denomination, as you said, George. It's a short little prayer just for the inspiration of everybody in attendance. It's not directed at any denomination. So could you please make sure that's on the agenda for the next village board meeting, Carmen?
Yes, Trustee Fialko.
Okay, are you set?
I believe Ruben made the motion to adjourn. Was there a second?
I will second that.
Thank you, Rose and
All in favor?
Fialko and everyone else.
Aye.
All opposed? Good night.
Oh, wait, I want to show you something real quick.